Welcome back everybody to 2019 LCK Summer Split Playoff Round 1. Before starting off today's match, we'll be hearing from Mina Kim and Captain Jack Suwan for the preview analyst task, and this is season with the whole analyst task translation. In the previous wildcard series, SKT took that Afreeca and they're now in the playoffs round 1. They will be facing up against SANDBOX. SKT, their performance has improved a lot compared to their bit of a shaky performance in the late time of the regular split. Well, SANDBOX might feel a bit of pressure since it's their first best of 5 series, but they can pull off a great performance if they will be able to deal with their nervousness or anxiety. Well, Suwan mentioning that players with short experience maybe have a hard time with their mentality issues when they may be able to lose some of the games in the early sets. They have to know how to handle all those mindsets and also mentalities as well. And let's take a look at the playoffs schedule. Starting with SKT versus SANDBOX today, Damwon and Griffin is waiting in the higher places. SKT there are now back in their miracle round again, so it's gonna be a very interesting point to see whether they can make it up to the finals, or it's gonna be a playoffs with the new revolution, SANDBOX, Damwon Gaming, Griffin, all the teams from the Challengers Korea. The Young Guns are now leading the head of the LCK now, but it's a best of 5 series, so we'll have to wait and see whether experience can do much stronger power or the mechanics or performance can affect the game a lot. So let's take a look at the team sets. SANDBOX, they are really well known for loving the first Drake. So they are a team that kind of led the opponent to take the first split, but they are the team that takes the first Drake every time. And let's take a look at the game duration time. So SKT really loves longer games. They win late, but they also lose late. However, SANDBOX, they also take a lot of time to win the game. However, they lose the game in the fastest time in LCK. So this can be interpreted as that they win the game with a lot of effort. It takes them a lot of time to win a game, but when it comes to losing a game, they actually lose very easily. So this can be another focal point for both teams. And this is a pie chart showing the damage distributions of each laners. SKT, the bot laner, or Teddy does a lot of damage in their team, and SANDBOX actually is not as doing much damage as Teddy here. Because maybe Ghost tries a lot of poke picks like Sona, Karma as well, so maybe this can be leading to doing less damage than the opponent's bot laner. So SANDBOX, they do a lot of work on the top side of the map, but SK Telecom, they, in terms of damage, well, they're quite balanced. They are the kind of the standard damage form in terms of a 5-man team. So let's see whether this is going to be relevant to today's match as well. And this is the match history. They are even in terms of match history. It's 5-5, and also taking a look at the set score, it's also 5-5, and also match score, it's 2-2. So it's really even.
맞습니다. 특히나 SKT T1과
Telecom back in the Junior Greening, Teddy was the one who was performing as an AD carry in the Junior Greening, so we can say maybe they be a lot more doing better work in the late game because Teddy knows how to play in the late game. And let's take a look at the highlight VCR of the previous match.
1라운드 첫 번째 경기 도구 선수가 너무 미끄러워서 잡을 수가 없었습니다.
So the first match of the summer split between SK Telecom and SANDBOX, Dove was doing dodging everything there, absorbing all the aggro and surviving out of that gank. And well, Sona is not a mainstream champion in the current meta, but here was Ghost doing a great job on his Sona performance. This game was 2-2, a clean victory for SANDBOX.
변수라고 생각합니다. 다전제에 있어서 말이죠. 그리고 이제 3데스 캐내는
Summit
장면이었는데요.
here.
사실 이 경기는 캐낸
Well,
초반에
he
말씀드린
actually
자막에
died
있는 대로
3 times
굉장히
before the
고생을
super
했던
play,
경기였습니다.
but he actually
하지만
survived this
상대방의
turret
다이브
dive
타이밍에 굉장히 좋은
and
센스를
even took
받아치면서 결자에
down
이기게
one
성공했죠.
opponent over there.
뭐 장로를 열심히 수비하는
And the first set, well, SANDBOX took the Elder Drake and they won the team fight as well.
아지르 챔피언에 대한 생각을 떨칠 수가
So
없을 것 같아요.
since Stove is so good at Azir, this is gonna be another very important
계속해서 언급되는
pick for
엄청난
today's
기력을
draft
가지고 있는 암살자의
competition.
챔피언. 그 아칼리를 얼마나 잘 다루는지 도구
And even
선수의
though
아칼리 캐리력을
for this
보여주는
game,
그런
actually
장면이었죠.
SANDBOX dropped this game,
물론
Stove's
이
performance
아칼리가
on
이번에는
Akali was
안
really
풀릴 것
iconic.
같지만
그렇죠.
그만큼 포인트에 있어서 정말 중요하다.
쭉 갑시다. 야, 쭉 가.
그렇네요.
And this is the final set of the recent match between SANDBOX and SK
한 대 한
Telecom.
대가 정말 중요한
Well, this was
경기였거든요.
about like 11:30 or 12 o'clock in the night, but SK Telecom, the players were staying focused at the very late night, and they were able to win the team fights and ended up taking down the Nexus as well. So, since SKT has FLICKR and also Teddy from Junior, they will be having a even improved performance in the late game.
이렇게 잘 싸워놓고 페이커 선수가 제이스 스킬 하나 못 피했다고 아쉬워하는 선수.
그렇습니다. 그리고 뭐 항상 나오지만 샌드박스 감독님의 이 환호하는
FLICKR's
저 리액션
performance on
파이팅이 있는
Azir, it's on 8-0, undefeated so far in the summer split. So Dove and FLICKR, both players are so good at Azir. It's gonna be really important to kind of
네, 정말
ban out or
팀이라면
take
뭐
away
언제든지
Azir
할
from the
준비가 되어 있을
opponents.
거라고 생각합니다. 자, 이렇게 뜨거웠던 정규 시즌 1, 2라운드 장면들 확인해 봤고요. 오늘
So let's
플레이오프
take a
1라운드
look
어느
at the
라인을
key
주목을 해야
players
될지 양팀의
of
키
each
플레이어
team
이어서 확인해 볼게요.
comparison. First will be
네,
jungle.
역시 확실히
On Flick
정글러들이
versus Split in the jungle.
네, 그렇습니다.
Both junglers are doing a lot of work.
좀 색깔이 있는데
They have a very distinct play style.
라인 개입을 통해서
Split
좀 라이너들을
will
확실히
make a
힘을 좀
very
받쳐주는
sharp
느낌이고,
gang in the early
온플릭
phase during
선수는
laning phase,
이니시에이팅을
but
통해서
On Flick is
아니면
a
오브젝트
player
컨트롤
who
통해서
actually
게임을
is
좀
really good
전체적인
at
느낌으로 풀어나가는
initiations
동의합니다.
or
상대적으로
engagement
라인전
and
단계에서
objective
활약하는
controls.
선수가 클리드라면
So Clid is the one
한타
who
단계, 운영 단계에서
contributes
활약하는
a lot in
선수가
the laning
클리드인데
phase.
그
On Flick
부분까지
is about the team
겹치면서
fight and
샌드박스의
play
용
style.
컨트롤, 그리고 SKT의 초반
So this
라인전이
was really
나오는 것 같습니다.
well
예를 들면
transit
온플릭 선수 같은
to
경우에는
the
초반
SANDBOX doing a lot of
딩킹보다는
a great job in terms of objective controls, and SKT why they're so strong in the laning
샌드박스가
phase.
용 컨트롤의 비율이 굉장히 높죠.
네, 엄블리 선수 뭐 후반에 딜러를 원콤 내는 장면이 나오기도 하고 확실히
So
그분이
On Flick
뭔가
has
스타일이 조금
shown a
다른 것
lot
같긴
of
하지만 어쨌든
performance like
팀을 이끌고 있다는
assassinating the
거는
damage
확실한
dealer
것
in the late
같습니다.
game.
자,
So
이렇게 해서
we can
SKT와
see a very
데이터들 모두
distinct play style
살펴봤는데
from
뭐 가장
both
궁금한
teams.
거는 결과가 어떻게 될지에
So
대한
any
부분이에요.
predictions
어떻게
for today's
생각하시나요?
match?
저는 SKT가 3대 1로
I think SKT will pick up a 3-1
저도
victory.
동의합니다.
I
SKT 가
agree.
오늘은 좀
I'm on the same
유리한
page with
부분이
you.
있지 않나 그렇게
I think
생각을 해요.
SKT
두
is
분
a bit
생각이
of a
같은데
higher
이유가 있을까요?
well spot
뭐
here
앞에서도 어느 정도 이유를 말하긴
because I have
했지만
mentioned earlier.
역시나 이제 후반전
Well,
그리고 특히나 이런
the late
다전제의 경우
game,
후반과
and also it's a best of 5
정말
match.
높거든요.
So
그럴 때
I
테디
kind of
선수의
believe
후반
SKT
집중력이
will
좀더
do
힘을
better
발휘할
work,
것 같다.
especially
물론 그
Teddy.
일의
He will
변수는
be really good
이제
at focusing in late game.
샌드박스의
So
샌드박스 상체팀의 좀
I
강함과
count on
그리고
SK Telecom,
고스트
but
선수의
SANDBOX,
그레이브,
they're
그리고
having
카르마
a
이런
really
기술을
great
하지
performance
않을까
around the
생각을
top
합니다.
lane, and maybe
말씀해주신 부분에
Ghost will
동의하고요.
show
그래도
another
왜
pocket
다른
pick
부분을
like Karma.
살펴보자면 SKT가 앞서 말씀드린
And to add on,
말씀드린 다전제의 경험
SKT,
때문에
they are
좀더
stronger
유리하게
and
they
어드밴티지를
have
가지고 있는
a
포인트도 있다고
much more
생각을 하고
experience in
거기다가
best of 5
페이커의
match,
키아나,
and also
와일드
FLICKR
카드에서 나왔잖아요.
has pulled
페이커가
off a
새로운 카드를
great
꺼냈고
performance
또
on
준비해오지
Kiana.
말란 법이
So
없기 때문에
I bet
미드
they have
정글
prepared
싸움에서
something
어느 쪽을
special
유리할지,
today
그리고
as
좀더
well.
준비를
So
하고
we
있는
have
쪽이
to focus on which
SKT라는
team will
생각이
bring
들기
in
때문에
better
그
synergy in
부분에서
mid and
가산점이 있다고
jungle.
봅니다.
So I think,
보도록
well,
하겠습니다.
for now, I think
샌드박스가 첫
SKT will be
다전제를 승리로 가져갈지
leading the
아니면
game
SKT가 또
today.
도장 깨기에 성공할지
So
정말
this will be
떨리고
the end of the
기대가 됩니다.
preview,
자,
and
다음
that's with
게임이 기다리고
Mina
있죠.
Kim, Captain
오늘
Jack and
샌드박스와
Swan, and I'm gonna
SKT의
pass
대결
it back to our
시작하도록
casters.
하겠습니다.
Thank you.
출발할게요.
Thank you, G-Sun, for the wonderful translation of yet another great pre-show segment. We're here, guys, on the desk for the first round of the playoffs. I know we had our wild card, but this is technically the first best of 5 of these playoffs. SANDBOX up against SKT, who made it up against Afreeca. I'm Valdez. With me is Papa Smithy. We're going to have a long day today. Hopefully, a little bit less or fewer brawlers than we got the first time we saw them just last week.
We're here till what, 1 a.m. casting SANDBOX versus SKT, and you know what? If we get there somehow with an 8-hour best of 5, I'll take it. It's
Not
gonna
bad.
Someone has to win today. We came in the pre-match, it showed 5-5 is of course the game score of these two squads all time. SANDBOX only promoted in 2019. Someone's got to take the lead. Someone has to face Dumb1 Gaming on Sunday.
And they are not going to be an easy opponent. Everybody's looking at Dumb1 like a brick wall in front of them. So today is the day for one of those teams, as you mentioned, to prove that they can even face off against the team that is Dumb1. I wouldn't be surprised that against either SANDBOX or SKT, you could see 3-0 predictions, 3-1 predictions. And a lot of people are predicting Dumb1 versus Griffin for the finals that we do have coming in. But it'll be interesting to see. You know, SKT were able to make it through. It was their first time on 9-16 as well. They have trouble with patches, as we have seen in the past, but at least we're able to squeak by with that 2-1 victory.
They were better for the run. I think getting experience on 9-16. I was watching LPL yesterday, still on 9-15, so very limited global games on 9-16. Saw some adjustments there, some champions, you know, Porky and Azir will definitely be lower in their contestation rate. But what does this all mean? Because I think we come in today, and globally, if you're going to compare fan bases, it's very much the 99-1% in terms of kind of global fan base. When you go player for player, SKT have a lot of legends and a lot of very experienced players on their roster. It's so easy to squeak out a 3-1 SKT prediction. But SANDBOX Gaming is this team that hasn't been embraced by many people and yet have consistently been involved in the conversation up the top. They were top 3 for the majority of spring, fell away at the end, then lost to Dumb1 Gaming in the wildcard match. So it is, even though it's their second playoffs, their first playoffs best of 5. They've also made a very interesting choice of blue side for game number 1 after we had red side dominate the conversation in our first match, the wildcard match 2 days ago. They've got some different champions as well. They may have beaten a Draven a couple of days ago, but Ghost's Draven, he plays the most of it, and it definitely looks damn effective when SANDBOX lock it in.
Yeah, in Korean it says Go Draven. So Ghost and Draven put together is different, quite literally. And it definitely is. I wouldn't be surprised if that's a bit of a contested pick coming into this one. We're going to have an interview here, guys. I'm going to hand it back.
So I think we could have done better, but at the same time, it's a great. I think we did a great job finishing on 3rd place and making it to the playoffs. So it's better than Spring Split. So we're quite satisfied as well. Well, SKT in the wildcard series, I think they were the SKT that we used to know, because Afreeca, they were aggressive and hard to expect playstyle team, but they dealt with it, their experience gap. But the lane to focus on will be a bot lane, because their call and decision will be connected to the objective 5, so the mind game between the duo laners will be very important. So SK Telecom, they played Renekton and Kiana in the wildcard series. Well, that was not expected. However, FLICKR pulled off a great performance on those two champions, and we are now to kind of the jungle fight with Clit. I think he's really good at sharp ganks and counter gank, cover play. But, well, I'm also very confident in those plays, so I think the teamwork with the laners will be really important and the key for winning today's game. Well, SKT has shown very strong performance in best of 5 games, but SANDBOX, we will do our best to show great performance in best of 5 games as well. So we have a very long way to go, and we only took 1 step forward. So I'll try to focus one opponent at a time and just do our best. We actually had only 1 day to prepare, so based on what we normally do, we just added some more plays, or we tried to modify some of our performance. In terms of pocket picks, well, it depends on the situation. And the lane to focus on, well, all 5 players matter, but I think mid-jungle synergy will be very crucial. So if we keep defeating the players in front of, the teams in front of, we might be able to make it to the finals and be the champion. So if we take that sandbox stage,
결승에서 이제
and
우승까지
maybe we can move on to
해보도록
Damon and Griffin, and we might win the
일단
finals,
아직
and we
갈
will do our
길이
best.
멀기 때문에
So
솔직히
we have a
지금
very
시작이
long way
좀
to go,
불안하긴
and our
했지만
start was a bit
경기를 좀 더
shaky, but we
보완해가지고
did
왔기 때문에
build up
좋은
upon our
모습
performance, so
보여드리도록
we will do our
하겠습니다.
best to show improved
일단
performance today.
샌드박스가 저희 팀이나 약간 좀 스타일
Well, during the
같은 게
preparation, I
비슷한 것
think SANDBOX has
같아가지고
very similar
딱히 뭐
playstyle
견제하거나
with
그런 건
SKT,
없던 것
so
같고 하던 대로
there were no
실수만 안
special
하고
point to
한다
focus on.
치면은
I
좋은
believe
결과가
that
있지 않나 싶어요.
we will be able to get a great
샌드박스라는
result
팀이
if we just focus on our
정글 위주로 많이
performance and get rid of
풀어나가는
the
거에 있어서
mistakes.
당황하지 않고
And
좀 저번과
speaking of
똑같이 좋은
on
경기력
Flick, I know
보여드리고
that
싶어요.
they are the team that playing
일단은
around
지금
the jungle,
저희가
so
분학 계기를 계속
we'll
이어가고
just
있는데
do our best
앞으로도
like we did
계속
last
좋은
time.
모습을 보여드려야 되고 끝까지
So we
좋은
are on the
경기력
miracle run right
유지해가지고
now,
이번
so
경기도
we
이기고
will just
싶습니다.
maintain great performance and just make it to the finals. Fighting!
Thank you, Ji-sun, once again for another great translation. Notice the two players that were interviewed, the two jungles going head-to-head. Wouldn't be surprised if that ends up being our key matchup here, as it definitely will be a very important one between these two teams.
And I tend to agree with Clid's words of how similar playstyles are for SANDBOX and SKT. Both of these teams play a bit of a slower style. They don't accelerate quickly through a winning sideline like a Damwon Gaming, for example. So, whoever's winning the start, if they can just ride out that momentum, they'll feel super confident to do so. We'll be introducing first a higher seed, the third place overall in the regular season. It is SANDBOX Gaming. No doubt coming into a crowd that will be dominated by SKT, with predictions that will be dominated by SKT. SANDBOX are looking to do some giant killing, which is a weird scenario given they come in higher seed.
Yeah, I mean, that's been one thing that SANDBOX has been struggling with themselves, you know, building that narrative and kind of an identity for their team. I feel like it's been slow. You know, Ghost has been pulling out some pocket picks. The solo laners are quite good, but still trying to build up their brands. And when you're going up against the biggest brand we do have here in Korea, they will lose on that front at least. Speaking of which, SKT going to be entering the arena now.
SK Telecom T1 effort will be starting, of course. Zephyr, he's got the long locks going with the hair here.
Yeah.
No time for haircuts. Focus completely on that 1 day of prep. And remember, that's another advantage that SANDBOX would have got to see SKT show some of their wares a couple of days ago in a very hard-fought series. One of our most competitive wildcard matches ever against Afreeca Freecs, where SKT on the red side eked out that 2-1 victory. Raise more and more questions about draft, because SANDBOX choosing blue side here is very notable. The fact that they played a full 3-game series just a week ago is going to be an interesting thing to reference as well. This is a match that I think in hindsight will be remembered as a very significant one where we learned a lot, but coming into it, you can't help but focus on why SKT looks like they are in a really good spot to take down SANDBOX player power-wise, the fact that they have pretty similar styles. SANDBOX definitely have a very good shot at victory, and on their day they can be so impressive. Congratulations to FLICKR. It is his 500th LCK game being played today. Greatest of all time adds another accolade to his list of those. Congratulations to FLICKR on that news. There's always more, Valdez. Looking forward to what this day may provide. As what's the sign saying? There's something about a 3,000 day
FLICKR,
milestone.
I love you as much as 3,000, and then it said something about 3,000 kills on the right side. Not sure if he's hit that 3,000 kill mark, doubt it, but either way, guys, we're getting ready to hop into pick and ban right away. SANDBOX starting on the blue side.
Dynamic side selection in the best of 5. Game 1, 3, and 5. SANDBOX have their choice of side because they finished higher than SKT in the regular season. 3rd for SANDBOX, 4th for SKT. Choosing blue side is very notable, Valdez, because we saw the power of red side win all 3 games in the wildcard match. So what is your first pick? And are you actually comfortable to give counter picks over to the side of SKT? Because right now, when it comes to draft, there's been big adjustments with Azir and Corki largely taking a breather. I think Corki's kind of gone. Azir can be considered. SKT's bans will be a little bit more inflexible than SANDBOX's. That's the advantage the blue side has always had, because you want to find that first pick that can't be answered. You expect Aatrox, Akali red side bans, and then maybe a Draven And we wonder if the Draven will be the trump card here for SANDBOX, because if it wins, surely it has to be permaban for the rest of the series, even though SKT lost and eventually overcame Draven against Afreeca Freecs. Now, Draven is going to be a point I'll mention again, because the answer for SKT was a bot lane focused Sylas camping down on a Kai'Sa lane. A Kai'Sa with hard CC, you can understand how Draven, if he ever loses flash, has to be really scared of all-ins. The Kai'Sa ban here is a really smart one, because one of those few viable strategies that will be run in Korea to try to answer it, and I see your face, very quizzical look. The Thresh priority is going up, but a red side ban is a lot of respect to show.
Yeah, it's a lot of respect to show, as well as, you know, Thresh Draven in the bottom side after you take away the Tahm Kench could definitely be one, as already the mind games are beginning here in pick ban. You talked about Azir and the viability. It is going to be taken away, and notice no Aatrox ban here, as Yuumi is also going to be taken away.
Now, Aatrox will be first picked here almost certainly. Champion wasn't powered down on this patch. The only reason not to is if you have a pre-planned blue side strategy that doesn't involve a top laner that has certain counter picks to it. And they're going to leave open that possibility when it's Khan. If we're going towards red side last pick, then Fiora, of course, is one of his most famous of all time. And Jace is, of course, his calling card and another viable choice into it. SKT, the cost of banning Thresh here is probably the highest contested champion on this patch, and they have to also be respecting a Draven lane, maybe just Xayah Rakan, to have similar playmaking to something like the Kai'Sa Braum, we would have assumed.
Yeah, after you go for those bans, you got to expect that Ghost is not going to be scared to just rip out the Draven here in Game 1, especially seeing SANDBOX's bans. So Xayah going to be picked up. We'll have to wait and see if Rakan also gets locked in just yet.
Joker's a very famous Morgana player, so that might force SKT to consider not actually going the way of Rakan. And this is interesting. Remember, Sylas had pretty heavy jungle-focused nerfs on this patch. We saw it from Clid in their last game against a Draven on red side. They will be picking a high CC jungler, and notably, not picking Sejuani Valdez. So, does that mean the SANDBOX just gleefully accept it and go for a very lane-focused draft here? They will be taking the Draven, that part's for sure.
Yeah, the Draven felt pretty obvious, and the Morgana just thrown out there immediately before we even see Rakan, just to lock it down before it can get banned here in the second phase.
Now, Effort does play this sort of duo lane supports that can beat Morgana in lane. Vel'Koz was a famous one in the past. Nami does very well against Morgana as well, but they're non-standard, right? This is something that definitely makes you not want to consider certain picks. We'll be going Karma, which is another champion that beats Morgana in the 2v2 because you can poke out the Black Shield on command with your Q. Right? Ability that you often put 3 points in. Will be able to out-damage the Morgana Dark Shield, so it is technically a flex pick Karma, and I'm sure a lot of SKT fans are now having like PTSD about mid lane, but most likely going to be a duo lane choice to try to find some times where you actually have priority on the Draven Morgana.
So calm down, guys. We don't know 100% just yet where that Karma is going to go, but as Papa mentioned, could be thrown into the bottom side. Still an opportunity to have some flexes and some picks here, but you'll notice that already some jungle bans are going to be coming out here. The Aatrox, known for his power in general, but also for his flexibility, so we'll have to wait and see where that's even going in this game.
Now, Xin Zhao has a really big 2v2 advantage over the Sylas. Sylas very much wants to be against a level 6 jungler, and that's why we do see the ban come through onto OnFleek's Xin Zhao, his most played of the season. OnFleek's been practicing the Lee Sin, and it does seem like SKT are probably not going Lee Sin this game. They could consider it and just flex the Sylas to a lane, but recently the choice has been jungle. Lee Sin going to be left open in this game. I would love to see the Jax, of course. That is OnFleek's most famous career pick, especially before the LCK days. Was known as a one-trick Jax jungle player. So a fighter here. Remember, he did actually beat SKT with Jax in the first meeting of these two teams in summer. Lee Sin banned, so they are opening up the potential of this Sylas to be going into a lane.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Just, you know, first pick, take it away. And SANDBOX are going to give credit for that. Will we see the return of the Renekton? Good into the Aatrox, as you were pointing out, but now we know it can be flexed on the side of SKT.
Which is important because it can follow the Aatrox if we do see an LEC style mid lane Aatrox. So, given that SKT can play it in both lanes, it's a smart choice because it gives away nothing and it gets a win somewhere. It's the way you should look at it. SANDBOX surprised us with blue side choice, so we're trying to understand what about blue side, apart from locking in Draven, has really drawn them to it. When it comes to jungle picks, they're not going to be going a level 6 jungle, they will be going the Jarvan. So they drop the Sejuani, who's very likely to fall through picks and bans here, unless some shenanigans ensue. Final pick on blue side. Most likely to be top or mid laner. Remember, Dove and Summit have a very overlapping champion pool, so they both play a bit of everything. Does that everything include the Taliyah, another champion they took down SKT with earlier this season?
A very interesting pick, as you know, Papa, it'll make me very happy whenever we get Taliyah in the game.
Do they LeBlanc? Because LeBlanc into Taliyah, FLICKR's LeBlanc, that could be the choice here. But Karma mid not bad against Taliyah. So this is where, actually, even if they weren't intending it, they might start considering flexes. I assume it's going to be Karma's support for the matchup.
Okay.
And Echo is going to be the lock-in. Another pick that's known. These assassins into Taliyah are a way to go. And we're going to see FLICKR's AP Echo into Dove's Taliyah.
We're here from Texas. High New Skins. Please go FLICKR. Well, if you're a FLICKR fan, and in game number 1, he's already locking in Echo when he played mid Renekton and Kiana the last time out, you're feeling pretty good right now to see this pick coming out here. And as you mentioned, you know, that Taliyah gonna have trouble in that mid lane for sure.
I actually really like SKT's draft here because after a few levels come in, they have 2 solo lanes that kind of for all game states have a win in the 1v1, and they have a bot lane that needs a bit of help. So Clid's job here is either early gank to really hard snowball a potential winning matchup, or he can pretty confidently play bot side and leave the solo lanes to be self-sufficient because they're in good matchups. So red side has been the treat here, and you try to understand why SANDBOX chose blue, because they're very likely to be on blue side in game number 2 as well. SKT expected to choose red back-to-back.
Yeah.
So given that, is the Draven worth it? Because the Draven payoff is very clear, but SKT have already beaten bot lane Draven lanes as recently as 2 days ago. SANDBOX do it better, but do they do it better enough?
That's really the question. Another interesting thing is that we didn't expect the Aatrox to make it through pick bans, and looks like Summit will be hopping onto that pick, so we'll see if that first pick Aatrox can help them out, and that's going to be already a story for the series. FLICKR hopping onto the Echo here for game number 1. Let's hop into this game right now. SANDBOX versus SKT. Get that fuller chant from the SKT side of things. As we mentioned earlier on, the biggest brand and fan base, I suppose you could say, in esports here in Korea, looking to climb through the gauntlet. They've already made it through the wild card, but their next opponent here is SANDBOX, who are most likely eagerly watching those wild card games and just trying to get a read on SKT.
Is FLICKR's 6th professional game on the Echo. Not going to be easy listening for the fans, but it's a negative win rate. Doesn't have a lot of those. But 2 and 3 on Echo. Pick that he has not necessarily erred towards too many times, and at times that was a off-tank pick, right? Mostly in the top lane, but there has been tank Echo mid lane as well. Dove's only game of Taliyah in summer was his win over SKT in the first round robins. That's kind of an amusing statistic to reference there. Ghost 8-2 all-time on the Draven, so a big pick for them. I like what SKT has done, though, because they do have the support counter pick here. With the Karma, very easy to poke off the Black Shield. The cooldown even longer than it used to be. Clid once again starting red side, but he's spotted on a ward, and this is a very early Jarvan bot side, but the lane ward here makes it an unviable spot. That very early lane ward is not scouted out by Joker, because it was actually placed around 30 seconds into the game.
And you see the moment the minions aggro onto Morgana, they immediately know, and double scan comes out here. They're actually able to get both of the wards from that, but didn't want to use both of them right there.
And that's the next level of the jungle path here, as Clid and Unflake might actually meet, is that SANDBOX were ready for this against Draven, but speaking of,
well, on Fleek's pretty awkward spot. Gonna try to flag and drag out of this one, but FLICKR on the chase, the flash on in. 1Q! He is gonna be able to dodge it there, so not quite able to pick up the kill. As Joker takes a ton of damage on the bottom side, and already SKT getting things going as Clid going deep in the enemy jungle.
Extra 10 damage on that E buffed on this patch. Almost the difference in picking up the kill. Clid able to chase out of the jungle. SKT had the next level on SANDBOX's next level attempt. Remember, it was a red side start Sylas into early bot lane gank with double teleport to try to dominate the Draven lane that allowed them to take down Afreeca Freecs. SANDBOX thought they had the tonic to that. They put down a ward on the Raptors. They see that Clid is going for that same start. Speaking of Clid, looking for another potential gank here.
Oh, that was a really nice seismic shove. FLICKR with no flash. One more auto is going to do it. And Dub will pick up the first blood here with a late 1v2, but mostly just FLICKR trying to beat that one and getting caught out.
Yeah, he knew his jungle was around mid, but didn't respect the heal flash still available on Taliyah. That rewrites all of SKT's good work in the early game. They read SANDBOX's level 1 and play around bot lane like a book, but unfortunately, they didn't have the magazine about the mid lane misplay. FLICKR can teleport back in. He won't lose a lot of lane control. But here's the replay. Largely a result of having the jungler mid lane. And what an amazing seismic shove prediction there by Dub.
That is so hard to hit, let me tell you guys. If you don't play Taliyah, I know she's not the most popular champion to play, especially against Echo with his speed boost. You're hitting that, you're either getting lucky or you're just really fantastic at the pick. So shout out to Dove. This guy seems like he's on point for the playoffs.
That was all on his lonesome as well. No jungle attention involved there. Unflake needed a bit of time to settle himself after being really forced into an awkward spot in the jungle as FLICKR takes another trade. The changes are 10 damage at all levels for E, so that was very relevant in the level 2 all-in attempt, and the flash was down from that on Clip. Everett.
Awkward spot here. He's going to get hit with the binding, but a nice slow onto Flake means that he can't quite land the flag and drag.
I got a heal.
Yeah, Effort uses that just to get away.
To be clear, by the way, this is the most defensive summoner spell setup you can get bot lane. It's a nice little chase from Dove onto the walls here. SANDBOX being very aggressive through the mid lane here. Nice to see from Dove, who's usually just a farming mid laner on an Azir or something like that.
Yeah.
But barrier heal with Karma Shields is the choice here to try to stain through the Draven, and probably plenty of bot lane attention. Everything was falling into place for SKT, but that kill, kind of manufactured in mid lane, has settled the jungle matchup and definitely ignited a very potentially exciting mid game here in game number 1.
It's just really cool to see that, as you mentioned, Taliyah can be a big time, just farm up the mid lane, sit back, and try not to die against Echo. I mean, we mentioned before that matchup for Taliyah, it was a specific counter pick by FLICKR. Wanted to go for the Echo instead of the LeBlanc, and, well, he was punished for it by Dove's great play. So we'll see if he can keep that up there in the mid lane, as Unflake hanging around this bottom side quite a lot in this game.
Remember how we've set up this game, as Unflake again there and Brawl again, electrocute proc already.
Yeah, immediate challenging smite, but FLICKR on the first roam. Here comes that Weaver's Wall, though, to cut them off, as Dove, wasn't first on the roam, but was able to get there on time with his ultimate.
If SANDBOX have to invest a lot bot side to get what should already be a winning 2v2 because of Draven's power, doesn't matter about the support matchup as much there, then it means that potentially SKT will be able to exert their will on their counterpick solo laners. So that's kind of the duality here, is which team is getting enough for the scenarios they're in. If this game goes to a farm fest, it's 30 minutes in and we're equal gold, I think SKT have a lot of advantages to talk about, specifically Echo in a side lane versus Taliyah. Usually Taliyah is still in a great spot, whether you take a TP or not, because she has a global already, but Echo will make mincemeat out of Talia in a long lane as the game goes on with 2 or 3 items, a Lich Bane, a Protobelt, and more. So because of that, a lot of assignments and the fact that Silas, Renekton, and Echo will dive in and make Draven's life a living hell in a team fight, SKT have a lot of nice scaling to talk about, waiting for SANDBOX to find a way to increase the pace of the game, which is not necessarily their calling card. We had the stat, the slowest win time of any team in the regular season.
Yeah, that is very true. Both these teams here take a while to win their games. We've been talking about a lot of other lanes that have had some action, but the top lane has been relatively quiet, almost exactly even on the CS. As we're looking at it right now, the Renekton generally good into the Aatrox. Khan trying to push this one forward with the Silas around. Knows he's safe against the gank, but at the end of the day, just going to be a good free.
Yeah, Renekton, when it comes to itemization, famously falls off. It's like a very known boilerplate point. Was more relevant back in the tank Renekton days, but Spear of Shojin means that he'll always have all-in options against Aatrox in the 1v1 with the removal of the Aatrox revive, and also when it comes to 5v5, while he won't have one rotation, his job is to be another person to get double Ghost to Flash. So I think Aatrox is the sort of game where he'll always have a role going on in the game, unless the lane assignments get really weird, which is probably a result of SANDBOX being far ahead. So I think this is definitely a comfortable game for SKT moving forward. Because of that, we're just looking for action, and maybe Infernal Drake will be the source of that action.
Surprised we haven't had any movements towards that just yet, as a bunch of pings come down onto the Infernal. Now with FLICKR roaming down, it'll be interesting to see how FLICKR does on another really aggressive mid lane pick. Has to ultimate away from the seismic shove there. Keep that in mind to see if any ganks do come in, as Dove looks like he's really on point with the Talia. Maybe something he practiced specifically for this matchup. But what I was saying was I'm very excited to see what other picks FLICKR is going to bring into the playoffs. He's known to be a very big playoff player who comes in and plays even better than he does in regular seasons in the playoffs. So bringing in all the cool picks as well. Only good stuff to follow, I hope.
It's nice that he has these pocket picks to answer expected picks from the enemy. We've got the answer to the Morgana, we've got the answer to the Talia. These are picks that multiple teams will be playing in the playoffs, and SKT seem prepped for them. I'm sure the Echo was prepped for good old Yukal in the wildcard match, but didn't have to be unleashed on that day. Move off Steel here does go the way of SANDBOX.
Went on to FLICKR here, actually, with the flag and drag as he was getting out of there. Thinking about diving onto Joker with the two guys there on the blasting plant. Not really able to happen, but you can see the amount of focus right now that's on this Infernal Drake. Good vision so far for SKT. Deep vision for SANDBOX, but none currently on the Infernal outside of that Rift Scuttler.
SKT see on fleek on a ward. Echo has first rotation out of these lanes, still has strong wave clear, and a lot of Talia's nerfs were targeted towards that. So there are these windows where first rotation will come through. On fleek spotted first, camping around the Infernal, now onto his Raptors, and that actually means that SKT will get the start here. Wasn't actually spotted.
Notice how the Aerie hit Clid, and also the Dragon didn't pull out when Joker aggroed it, so they knew it was going on right now. And look at FLICKR, he's not in position right now to get on top of this Drake. Ghost thinking about it here with the steal, not quite able to do it as the smite comes in. And Clid and SKT will secure that first Infernal Drake.
Yeah, really nice macro setup there from SKT. They had on FLICKR clearing Raptors on a ward. They used Faker's time to get first roam to counter him and to force him to use EQ defensively. That means he's not within smite range, and that means the Infernal is basically academic. So with their vision lead, they're able to set up a very nice scenario. Faker has his ultimate back up and just going to be throwing aggressive trades at Dove to make sure that no freeze can happen on this minion waves.
We got FLICKR nearby. You mentioned the ultimate being up, probably no kill there. Summit, really awkward spot here. He's going to try to run away with the movement speed towards the north. Actually will work out for him, as he will escape from any doom of the Renekton.
Had a control ward to kite down to, so easily done there. See what it all means when it comes to something like the Rift Herald. We don't see any 10-minute Rift Herald rotations like other teams in the LCK are known for. CS for CS in top, CS for CS in mid, but most importantly for SKT, CS for CS in bot lane as well.
All right, maybe a bit of action here on FLICK, thinking about it, but looks like they're just grouping up with the Taliyah nearby with Weaver's Wall to try to set up a 3-on-2. As there's a control ward here, a ward to the south, but I think Dove just went down the river, so probably wasn't spotted. Man, remember old Taliyah with the AoE Qs? Those were the days. You mentioned the wave pushing. Still decent at it, actually. It's not terrible right now in the mid lane, but could be better from what we know. And it's not 10 minutes, but it's almost 13 as SANDBOX. They're not going to get that first dragon, but they're looking to take down Shelly here, and it looks like SKT will give it up, especially once they see Joker coming in.
And this is a really big win for SANDBOX, so credit to them for setting this up. They had the eyes on FLICKR and interrupted his recall. They rotated first. And because of this, remember how when we were talking about how around this point, kind of level 9, level 10, as the mid-game comes on, the lanes get a little bit tricky for SANDBOX. Rift Herald should force SKT to respond to SANDBOX's pressure. If they're showing up first with some decent item timings and a Taliyah to rotate between lanes, the outnumber and the potential trade-ups are real around this point in the game. So I'm going to be looking to SANDBOX to go the next step here and use what are their tools that are getting into a pretty good spot in terms of skirmishes and outnumbers with the Rift Herald to try to get a pretty sizable advantage on SKT. But for now, Clid invading. They've tried to actually put a lot of pressure onto OnFleek in his jungle.
OnFleek can kite this back and take it down with the smite, but Clid, thinking about getting in there, doesn't even bother to use his ultimate to get on top of OnFleek and steal that one away. You mentioned the aggressive trades. That's all Echo has to do over and over to try to push Dove out. But importantly, Dove has blue buff. But we're trying to set up a 4-man dive here. Dominus on Khan as we're going deep. Dove trying to skate away here. That was an amazing escape, actually, as now the teleport going to come in. The flash now onto the Aatrox, but a lot of damage already coming out here. Summit has to back away, but in comes Joker from the back, and a big wabam cataclysm into the backside. But FLICKR able to do that first damage with the Echo, gets back in there. Perfect timing on the stopwatch, but still the Aatrox is going mad in the back line. Gets those autos down, but eventually it comes down as Teddy rotates up, and Ghost is still in the bot lane.
A 3 for 2 in the end for the side of SK Telecom. SANDBOX try to make a fight work. A lot of trading places, a lot of ults thrown from long range. Ghost doesn't respond, and now he's pretty damn overextended.
Well, this is a bit awkward for him. He is going to avoid that stun, but can he get away from the damage? Already the feathers are out there, predicting the flash, and Teddy, very deservedly, will pick up that kill.
That was really nicely done from Teddy. Usually when we see those ultimates from Isaiah, they're not prediction ultimates. Sometimes they're in the wrong direction because they're panic ultimates. That one was calculated. SANDBOX trying to get a push in the mid lane, but there's nowhere else for the Draven to flash to, otherwise he's dying to the Echo. So nicely engineered by the side of SKT. Ghost doesn't invest his time and goes down as insult upon injury. In the end, a 4 for 2 trade. As we get to watch the replay here, and with the benefit of hindsight, I think SANDBOX do quite a lot of good stuff, but they're never going to have as many members as the enemy. Clid actually steals the Morgana ultimate as Echo flew in for a lot of burst damage.
FLICKR, great timing on that one. You can see I say perfect timing a lot in the play-by-play, but there was actually a lot of stopwatches used as well in the fight. It was a critical one here early on in the game. This is the prediction on the feathers, just saying, I know you have to flash this way, let me set them up. And a nice little hug from the Zion.
Set up the pins, knock them down. That was the strike they were looking for. Here's a strike onto Infernal. TP gonna be forced.
And they're looking to turn right now onto that Renekton. Khan trying to get away, but Seismic Shove puts him in the grave. As SKT don't seem too worried about that. They come in, swoop in, smite away the dragon, and walk away with only 1 death. Not so bad.
And they're already getting in position to wave clear under the mid lane turret, which is the only acceptable trade of objectives on the side of SANDBOX. They get some hits in. They need more than that. Rift Herald thrown down bot lane, so they should get a turret somewhere. This, of course, was one that was already very low in health.
Yeah,
here we go. Okay, so two turrets will go the way of SANDBOX.
Maybe
They look
some
for more.
Yeah, let's see here if they can get on top of FLICKR. He's just going to flash away. Not going to be fancy and ultimate or do anything like that. Gets away, but two turrets and a flash. I mean, that's not half bad for SANDBOX now, who are going to take a lead in the gold at least. But the two Infernal Drakes, definitely a big thorn in their side.
And that's why I think it plays into the way we're building up this game, which is that's actually more than we initially expected SANDBOX would get as a trade there. A kill and two turrets is definitely better than Infernal, but it does play into, like in where SKT is going, SANDBOX actually get something now that they could return to. They can return to the scene of this crime with globals and actually use their current item spikes to get bigger and bigger leads. If this turns into a Baron because someone's too far down a long lane, Taliyah swoops in and they get a kill, that could be just a win condition for the side of SANDBOX. But it's that conditional asterisk of they need to act on the initial gold and the longer lanes soon. Otherwise, things may swoop towards SKT favor.
Absolutely. Well, SANDBOX has been a little bit passive in the early game, as has SKT, but hopefully they recognize their predicament and can get something going. Looks like a bit of a rotation up to the top lane is going to be the first line of objectives here for Ghost, at least, who will be joined by Joker eventually. Just waiting on that push. It'll be interesting to see what the Taliyah builds next. Did go for the pretty standard Merc Treads into the magic damage assassin with the Ludens, but see what she goes for. Maybe even a Banshee's Veil next.
I actually would love to pick your brain on this. If the viewers don't know, you're a very long-time Taliyah lover, jungle and mid lane.
Yes.
Do you pick Banshee to try to stave off a lot of inevitability, or do you go into something more aggressive and just play make, knowing the side lane will never be a happy place for you? It's kind of an interesting duality to consider, right? I think Banshee doesn't save you if you're too far down a lane against Echo, but you would understand it. However, a more aggressive item, if you do get those mid-game plays off, you nail them. So we're sitting here talking about scaling and being very clear. I'm sure in-game it's a lot more muddy for the players.
Yeah.
What would be your first instinct in a scenario like this?
So, especially because the enemy team has a lot of mobility, it's really, Taliyah can do huge burst damage, or she can kind of just throw rocks at you and, you know, have a game-changing ultimate, right? And knowing LCK players as well, I think he's just going to go straight Banshee Veil. I mean, it's almost always safety first for these mid-lane Taliyah players that we do see in the LCK, so that would be my prediction here, and I think it does make sense given that you're dealing with not only the Echo, but the Sylas and a lot of stuns coming in. And
if I'm the in-game leader, if I'm on comms with Dove right now, I would tell him, screw LS, go Morellonomicon, get in there, and be super aggressive. Huge value from Morellonomicon against specifically Echo and Sylas. Renekton, too, has healing in his kit. And I don't think you're going to win the game because your Banshee means you don't have to, like, run instantly away from Echo the way you see him. So there's definitely two schools of thought. We'll be very interested to check in on what the decision is here.
Yeah, and it's not a bad idea either, especially because she has no penetration right now with the Merc Treads, right? When I'm playing solo queue, I go Sork Boots and an early Oblivion Orb, right? For all of that burst damage from the jungle, that is for sure. And, well, enough about Taliyah. We got to talk about this Aatrox, who is in a bit of a wonky spot. We got Joker and Onfleet coming on down, though, turning into a bit of a 3-on-4.
Taliyah can't be there. Only person here, Taliyah, Ghost, can't be there. Everyone from SKT could be there. If SANDBOX chase any further, it's just suicide. They can't actually rotate their members over. So smart that they pull away. Ghost actually going to put down a cheeky control ward. SANDBOX seeing what they can shake and make happen. SKT, for now, just happy to pick up their buffs.
Yeah, things are going to stay here at 4-4. You talked about this long lane against the Echo.
Oh, it's scary.
It's rough. You know, you have to definitely keep your distance if you're Taliyah. You want to stay and use that passive on the walls and not necessarily engage the Echo in combat, but, well, he got a little bit too close to the sun here. And Dove might be regretting his decision as Baker's going in under the turret, one-on-one. We got a Sylas coming in as the ultimate is going to be used. Heal comes on down from Dove. Nice flash away, but do they have the damage? Morgana comes in and will save her life at the last possible second, as the dive will not go well. We do have another kill actually in the top side, as we're trying to get the full zoom out. FLICKR all alone, taken down by Ghost and Summit on the Aatrox. That's now 2 kills for the side of SANDBOX, and SKT are literally in the middle of nowhere.
They're just trying to run around and cause distractions because 2 of their members have gone down. Another seismic shove. This guy's a monster on the Taliyah.
Is unbelievable
on
this
the Baron.
Pick. Yeah, they're just going for it. They have really insane Baron damage here.
What do we say?
Especially with the
Use
Taliyah.
your long lanes and find a way to get a Baron. That's your win condition. They're on to the Baron. Can SKT respond?
Well, we got Kong coming in here. Level 13, he's got a full rage bar. We do have the jungler coming in. Clid trying to make it happen. Stun comes down already onto the Morgana, who gets burst down. And with the teleport being used by FLICKR, it's too early in the game. They tried to go for it, but they didn't quite have the damage there. And so SKT will stop the Baron.
SANDBOX trying to stop losing the mid lane turret as well, as already primed is the parallel convergence. Lot happened in that moment. It seemed like it might be a death knell to one team, but then it gets evened out. That's the sort of action we were looking for from SANDBOX exactly when it happens, and it's only possible because no one could be more of a monster in the side lane than Dove was. Echo has such a winning matchup in a long lane, and yet the outplay onto 2 members here was insane. We're gonna watch the replay. Because remember, when do you flash, when do you heal as a consideration? Walks out, and the only reason FLICKR ults out is because Silas is here to mop up the kill. They assume it's going to be a freebie as Clid runs in. First a heal for movement speed, then a flash away. Seismic shove. How do you press your button so damn well, you might ask? TP in from Aatrox, they get the kill onto FLICKR. And you know what the best part is? He didn't go for the Banshee Veil. He built the Morellonomicon.
Yeah.
He knows which way is up.
It ends up being a smart decision here, as nice, take it slow was the comms here from Joker, but didn't end up taking it slow enough as he got burst down himself there, just trying to zone away the side of SKT from their Baron attempt.
Morellonomicon is done. Means that when he gets that pick, when his team is there to back him up, they should have the lethal damage on FLICKR, on Clid, on these healing members of SKT. But in those same scenarios, if Echo finds him again with no summoners, doesn't matter. Taliyah, the Rock Lady, is dead. Rest in peace, Pepe Hands for her. So because of that, you need to play to your item choices here. I do not want to see Taliyah in a long lane get solo killed by an Echo. And here is Taliyah, like we mentioned, going for a combo play.
This is what I was talking about. You can change the game here, especially in Pro. Nice dash away from that seismic shove. He is going to flash too. The chase still on here as Summit is going to Umbral dash forward, but now Teddy coming in. Summit, did you go too far? It looks like no. Teddy will be able to stave them off for now.
No chase potential there. Don't want to chase too far a second time. SANDBOX could have over-chased. While they have things like Weaver as well, Summit used his TP. There are no other teleports on this team. SKT a lot more maneuverable in that regard. And this is such a high-tension moment in just game 1 of a best-of-5. SANDBOX playing their first LCK best-of-5, as we've talked about a couple of times. SK Telecom T1. They'll be confident. I think both teams are happy where they are. Could have been way worse at 25 minutes, but again, a lot of our predictions are that in 10 minutes from now, that's where things get a little bit more red side favor.
So SKT holding on for that moment as Dove, the last time that he got engaged on by FLICKR, he was at max Q range and he thought he was safe. The answer was he wasn't safe, and that was before even Echo gets more and more of these less utility items and more burst damage items, which he will be going for in items number 3 and 4 eventually. But yeah, it's pretty rough for her in that side lane, so we'll see what she can do.
Cute choice here by Effort. I've never seen this before, at least not since like kind of older Redemption power level times. But
yeah.
Going Redemption here actually helps against all the sideline plays that Taliyah's making. the
We're
ability to
trying
have a
to
semi-global.
engage here on FLICKR, but FLICKR in a really awkward spot here. Seismic shove nearly on the timing. As FLICKR is going to have to flash away. Uses everything. Weaver's Wall comes in, tries to bait them into the corner. Teddy has to flash away too. Summit frontlining for now is going to be able to do a good job of just leading the team front to back. Ghost trying to start up this Infernal Drake. It's a huge objective. You cannot let SKT get a third one.
Trader flashes, Teddy's flash for OnFlakes. So something to remember is that both big carries here have no summoners when it comes to flash. Drake's going to stay leashed. This is one SANDBOX should want to fight. A binding here from Joker is actually going to be a killer onto Teddy.
Oh, Summit going in once again. Stopwatch is going to be down here, but he has to flash away, and despite it goes to Klid. SKT now a triple Infernal. The binding going to come down onto the Renekton, but SANDBOX can't get anything else after that one. The stun comes in. Klid trying to force this again. Already a lot of AoE damage coming on in. But they're still taking it very, very slow. FLICKR now with full health, trying to lead the charge in here. Can't quite get a kill just yet as Khan against Summit, one-on-one, but now Klid comes in, and it's gonna ruin their party as the two-on-one will get the kill.
Oh.
And Dove immediately gonna take away that Zaya, and all of a sudden the fight is gonna be turned. FLICKR here has his ultimate, trying to come back to his teammates. Will be able to do that, and now a teleport comes in, and SANDBOX is trying to run away as much as possible on Fleek. Looks like he will get that flag and drag just on time. That's now Ghost going one-on-one here. Couple of crits could do it. He's flashing in. He'll get one. And that is why this guy is 8-2 on the Draven for now. And the action never seems to end as Ghost is still on the run.
Exactly, he's trying to just tank aggro to allow for the resets. They don't have the teleport SKT does. Melee range though, Draven versus Renekton. Resume your lungs. I think you can hold on to it for this one, Valdez, because ends up with Renekton getting the takedown there. It could have been more losses for SANDBOX. Going aggro first as Talia, being able to flip off, I guess you would say, to Teddy and get the kill there, and then Ghost going aggro means no Baron is there from SKT, but what will always be there till the end of this game is triple Infernals after Klid's secure.
And the Infernal buff, that is percentage buff to your entire team's AD or AP. And, well, as the game comes along and you get more of it, that percentage will equal more. A fantastic late game Dragon, and the most preferred in the game. And now SKT has got 3 of them with a pretty high damage composition, especially with that Echo in the mid lane. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, Dove, for me, has been the MVP so far of SANDBOX, but can he do this alone as 3 and 4?
Now, something to mention. All summoners, when it comes to flashes, except for Doves, are on cooldown on both teams, and there's a lot of pick CC. So the next moments are actually higher tension than perhaps both teams appreciate. Clear wall to stop this being the mid lane turret going down. How frustrating. Mid lane turret still up at 30 minutes for SKT to deal with.
Definitely something that they should have been able to take down earlier, but just never found the opportunity, as this game has been pretty action-packed, even though the kills are 16 here at 30 minutes in total.
Gold lead, 300 for SANDBOX, but 3 Infernals means the implied lead is there, and we already said that we like SANDBOX's scaling potential and where team fights will look. Those team fights are even more one-sided if flashes are on cooldown for the Draven and the Talia. Right now, Draven, the only one. He was the last person to flash, I believe, in the previous fight. So, a pick here will be big on both sides.
Ghost, did you just walk too far? In comes the Silas on his own wall that he stole earlier on. And they have the damage to take out 2, make it 3. 3 times the charm for the side of SKT. They make that pick happen with the Silas coming in from downtown.
Somehow, Silas the better Rock Lady than the Rock Lady herself, and SKT will roll down mid lane and get at minimum an inhibitor and Baron. Who knows if they want to try to end the game with the 3 Infernals, the Death Timers.
They're thinking about it, you can tell. It's only Dove and Summit.
They would have to kill Dove though, so maybe just get the free Baron here for SKT. A lot of wards though to spot them here. Let's see how SKT read this scenario.
Yeah, we got 3 seconds on Joker, 7 right now on Ghost, and 4 on Fleek. So You best be pretty comfortable in the amount of Baron damage you have. They are going to go for it here now as Effort clears it out.
Weaver's Wall available, but the smite's not going to be in range.
Yeah, that's not Jungle Talia. Keep that in mind. Summit trying to go in. Can they have the burst damage? No, the smite will be good as it goes in, but who is going to be going down? First, Clid is going to be the only death, but Summit still on the chase. And here comes Dove into 3 of them, actually, and it's going to be immediately decimated as he's just trying desperately to chase him down. And now Ghost in the front line against an Echo will not be able to stand up to him. As another fight in the top side, FLICKR gonna go 1v3 at this point as he still has his ultimate. Takes out 2 and will be going here onto OnFleek. Nice knock-up, but still, this is an Echo, and you know the party never ends if you're an Echo player. As another kill comes down, and SKT with the Baron will push.
And SKT have gotten over the line. This will be a Game 1 victory for them. Just too good in the clutch. We talked about how these teams both had overlapping ways to play the game. When it came to making those calls, to finding their man, SKT were just that much better in the clutch. And in the clutch, SKT take a 1-game lead in our best of 5.
That they will. They're going to take it down here at about 33 minutes GG. As SKT will take game number 1 in the best of 5 series up against SANDBOX. Really got to hand it to them for holding on, even up against that deadly Talia in the mid lane. As a very nice game, a fun one to cast actually. Lots of drawn out action and fun stuff there. As, man, good team play, I'd say, from the side of SKT. Pretty hard for me to pick one MVP, but we'll have to do that.
And we do, of course, have the playoffs MVP race to join MVP of the regular season Canyon as an award. Best of luck with that one. I'm sure people will be considering FLICKR after his heroics in the last couple of fights, but baited the team a couple of times as well.
Yeah.
So it will be a tricky one. I went with Clid personally. I think him swooping in on the Talia ultimate was actually the match clincher in many different ways, and an ult that you don't normally see stolen away by a Sylas. Entertaining game. I think that SANDBOX, though, the cost of going blue side choice in game number 1 could actually be even bigger now that they've lost game number 1, because now SKT can choose red side for game number 2 and continue to look for counter picks, because on the blue side, you gotta be bold. You gotta go for those picks that you get as a win, as first pick, and in the end, the Draven couldn't get the job done. Watching the replays here, this is, of course, when things get desperate and Dove's going melee range into a Renekton as Talia.
Notice,
look, you're trying to do something.
Yeah, notice how the Talia, you're very squishy, right? You go in on your wall into a backline, you're going to get burst down immediately. But a Sylas with the Talia wall, he just hops on in there. He's like, what's up, boys? I'm here to fight. I'm here to get down. As FLICKR did go 1v3 right here at the end.
Hello, it's late game Echo. Nice to meet you. The buffs are coming in at level 16, 20 seconds less cooldown. On that ultimate means you can ult whenever you want. Echo chases down. No time rewinding necessary for SKT fans. They've won game number 1 here. The 3 Infernals playing into the scaling hop that SKT took, but they also made the right bold calls more than the enemy. And that's the reason why overall they were better than SANDBOX Gaming. And it felt like a 55-45, but if you keep rolling that tape back, it will be SK Telecom going on to face Dumb1 Gaming. We're still early days, though. It's just a single game. Game 1, SKT.
First game will go their way. The Dragon control ended up being very important, actually, for this game, down to the last one. Clid smite, you know, we talked about the Talia engage with the Sky. He had that one game where he stole away 3 objectives. I forget who that was against on the Skarner. Yeah. He took away, like, Dragon, Baron, and then Elder Dragon. And once again, he takes away that 3rd Infernal, is calm under the pressure, smites away the Baron at the end, and gotta hand it to that guy. Certainly had a fantastic game for game number 1, but a fun game number 1 for a fun series to come. Join us after the break.
이쪽으로 빼. 스킬만 못 당하지 말고 이거. 먹고 빼자. 나와 다 나와. 버릴 사람 버려도 돼. 버려라. 그냥 풀 써라 그냥. 풀딱 끌었다 나이스. 이거 나 뒷세볼게 한번 빼. 살짝. 나 세본다 이거 싸움 봐봐.
아래
싸움 우리가 좋아 이거 나 세. 물각큐.
상혁이 형 잘.
드래곤 개피. 드래곤 잡았어. 이거 이겼다. 드래곤 잡았어.
위에 이기지. 앞 싸워보자.
위에 이겨 상혁이 형. 여기 다 잡았어 이거. 오케이 이겼다.
다음은 끝나. 나 가고 있어 상혁이 형. 미드 가면 끝나.
실드.
가면 끝나지 않을까?
잡았어.
나 에이브 싫어.
미드 템포 되나 템포?
잘했다.
아니 미드 텔 없어. 그냥 끝날 것 같아.
혼란, 카오스, 역대급 혼전이라고 읽을 수 있을 만한 상황. 역대급 암호를 찍다. 역대급 신인입니다. 역대 원탑 SK 이런 적이 있었나요? 혼전 약사 1위가 맨날 바뀌어요. 맨날. 아 정말 역대급 SK예요. 맨날 봐봐. 역대급 결승전을 시작하겠습니다.
Welcome back, guys. We're here after that short break for game number 2 of SANDBOX up against SKT. SKT really taking it to SANDBOX here on the red side in game number 1, and they have chosen, not very surprisingly, to stay on red side for game 2.
And I'm going to need to be impressed by this game 2 drop. You, of course, would have come up with multiple scenarios for blue side because SANDBOX only knew they were going blue. They didn't have full information about what SKT would ban. You get a second go. I'm willing to give them a mulligan, but I wasn't super impressed personally with SANDBOX. I felt like their style was very open, like kind of knew the Draven was coming. We called the Morgana blind pick. If we're calling it, SKT definitely knew about it, and SKT had a smart plan to once again minimize the threat of Draven. So are we rolling back the Draven with one adjustment? SANDBOX forced onto blue after choosing blue. Let's see if blue side can find its first victory, because if not, SKT will be 2 games in and 3 match points into our quarterfinal.
Absolutely. So, as with any best of 5, it is ever developing and progressing, and that is true for the pick and ban as well. So, what do you think, if anything, will change coming into these first bans?
I think it has to be a change on SANDBOX's side. I think SKT are very happy with how they outline things in game number 1. The moment they're banning Tom Kent, it's surprising, because I was sitting there with Concrete, one of the Korean casters today, and we were theory crafting what's the first pick to justify picking blue side when it feels like a red side counter pick meta. And we know that Summit and Dove can play spicy stuff, right? So they can definitely wield counter picks. And the first pick on the Tom Kench was a pretty likely one, all things considered, to open up different strategies. So the fact that they're banning it removes a potential first pick. And if they're going to first pick Aatrox and have Summit once again have to deal with being counterpicked, I don't know if that's necessarily the start of a path towards a needed SANDBOX victory. You do not want to go 3 match points down against SK Telecom T1 in your first ever best of 5.
We will have our first change coming in here, as the Azir is not going to be banned, and actually Sejuani is going to take the place. Was looked over in game number 1, but the Sylas was picked early by the side of SKT, so may have been part of it.
And you know what's funny? If it's a first pick Azir, doesn't Faker just roll back Echo? That's actually a matchup Echo is famous for, scaling into potential counterpick territory. But Aatrox, Azir, both open, and they're, of course, champions still expected to be considered. The Azir was nerfed on this patch, so already the power level is down. It's one of Dove's best champions. They fight well with it, but this is another query that goes on to my kind of questioning of SANDBOX first picking blue side, then being forced onto blue side, is the moment you pick a non-standard choice in terms of side selection, you're stuck with it and have to feel the loss very, very real fashion in the immediate next game. And it seems like the Aatrox will be gleefully accepted by SKT on the red side.
You know, problem there. Of course, it can be counterpicked, but again, it's very flexible. So SKT not really too concerned with that one. The question is, what do they follow it up with? Are they still going to go with the Sylas for a potential counter to the Sejuani, or do they go for something else? Or maybe just pick up the Xayah early, just like game 1?
I think the Xayah makes a lot of sense when you know the enemy wants to play a bot lane focus and you can't have Kai'Sa when you think Draven's in their range, which of course it is. I think Xayah is one of the few that can stave off the inevitability of an all-in post-6. So I actually really agree with the Xayah priority, and here is an adjustment. Would be the Karma takeaway on the side of SANDBOX. You could go Karma Draven and say, well, best of luck finding a 2v2 lane to deal with this. That would probably provoke a CC jungler and a lot of bot lane focus from the side of SKT to try to get rid of it. Draven or no Draven, if it's not picked here, it will be banned. Let's see how SANDBOX back up their blue side draft on game number 2.
Well, the Karma Draven is going to be overlooked, actually, as Ezreal is going to come in here. Karma Ezreal could be the play for the bottom side.
And if it is that, that's a bot lane you can leave to its own devices. You know, that's very much a self-sufficient bot lane, unless Karma gets ganked and loses flash. Without that, she will give the lane priority to allow Ezreal to be aggressive, and this actually makes it a lot safer to visit the Rakan in a scenario like this. Summit has played top lane Karma recently, and it is a priority matchup into Aatrox, but you end up going Iceborne Gauntlet, and your no damage potential and your lower utility often costs you if the enemy team has enough to engage to provoke fights and skirmishes. So personally, I'm not huge on the hype train of the Karma top lane. It'll be a consideration though, as SKT will get to start to remove options from SANDBOX's side.
Just a couple of things that Joker is too good at that are good against Rakan. So you got to cover your bases here.
Please ban Echo. Please.
That's, you know, as you were mentioning it, definitely another good rollback for FLICKR if he wants to just play it again. But there are other scary stuff left available, such as the Skarner.
That's not Echo. So please ban the Echo. Could also consider the Xerath, the BDD favorite in the matchup. It's not a hard winning lane, but the outrange potential is there. Vel'Koz is something FLICKR has played before. You could try to take LeBlanc and kind of grit your teeth a little bit with some of the awkward trades earlier. Not going to give OnFleek one of his most pointed weapons in that Xin Zhao. Will be banned for a second game in a row.
Xin Zhao taken away. You know what still is available.
Oh, talk to me. What is it?
Is Corki.
It's not going to be played. Corki's pretty bad.
I know it was also nerfed, but...
so the big nerf, if you think about how he works, he lost 5 AD and Trinity Force's core item that scales off base AD. So even his itemization is worse in a pretty big way. So I think Corki is not unviable necessarily, but very heavily nerfed. SKT getting a last pick when it comes to their mid lane here. There is a chance that gonna find out this Karma's not going bot lane, but we do expect it to be the Ezreal Karma. And that's a pretty high pressure jungler. Blind pick in the Elise. If they see an Olaf here, I don't think they'll be too disappointed, as this is the pick that actually got SANDBOX their one game win against SKT, and it can be a very fun snowball matchup against the Elise.
Definitely an interesting one, but might just be overlooking it here in favor of the Jarvan again. As, yeah, it is going to be locked in there just at the last moment, letting the timer tick down. And this is the thing about the blue side. You have to make a decision who's going top. Are we just going to have the blind, potential blind pick of the Karma into maybe Aatrox? It looks like that's what they're thinking about right now, as the other counter to Rakan, the other big one at least that we talk about a lot, is the Leona. But instead, are going to turn it back to the cow here. Alistar going to make a return to the Rift.
Very strong for their team fighting, but tanks their 2v2 quite a lot, and you could have multiple difficult lanes here depending on what SKT choose to drop. Echo super viable in this spot, as Kassadin going to be taken instead. So a similar melee AP assassin. This is a very famous old counter pick to the Azir, scaling-wise, pretty similar to Echo versus Taliyah, is this Kassadin versus the Azir. But funnily enough, Kassadin is one of the few black marks in FLICKR's champion pool. It's one that he's struggled to win on in multiple different metas over multiple different years. It doesn't give early priority like it does against the Corki matchup. So this is one that's probably going to need a bit of attention from the SKT jungler to get going.
Absolutely, and there was one fan sign that we just scrolled over there. It said, FLICKR has a plan for everything. Well, we're seeing him play yet another unique pick here. It's not obviously going to be his first time ever playing Kassadin, but just something that we don't see very often. We have seen it recently, I think the one time from Chovy. But other than that, I mean, Kassadin has really just not been returning to the Rift at all, but FLICKR's just rolling them all back and putting on a show for us tonight.
12-9 career, 21 games on the Kassadin, but how many of those was Season 3, back when the champion was permaban status, and Season 2 and Season 3. Brings it back, and this is a champion they have struggled to close on in the past, but an entertaining one. 94 minutes the dream. That was FLICKR on Kassadin, getting caught by Omti's Kha'Zix. It also doesn't give them a priority lane early, so I wonder what this means about jungle pathing from Clinton OnFleek, for many, the featured matchup of this best of 5.
They do have a boon in there, so we'll see if SANDBOX can play to that here, as we're going to hop onto the Rift for game number 2 with SANDBOX versus SKT. Let's do it. Fans getting even louder for both sides as SANDBOX Not the best showing in game number 1, as they were eventually chopped down like a big old tree there in game 1 by SKT. And the SKT fans happier more than ever that FLICKR once again going to be hopping onto something fun, different, and exciting here for sure. The Kassadin can get quite out of hand.
Last Kassadin game for FLICKR was spring 2018. A victory and a loss against BBQ Olivers. How much time changes, but you start looking at the timestamps. Victory was a 57-minute one, so that was back in the very long meta days, and Kassadin definitely favors a long game. Basically, I love Twitch chat in every Kassadin game I see, which is usually something like EU Masters, where, for example, Nemesis was playing a lot of Kassadin. Whenever you get close to level 16, the level 16 Monka S spam is real. The champion is such a free win button then.
Yeah.
But SKT had the option to go for earlier power spikes, didn't. And that definitely hurts their solo lane priority, because when it comes to push priority, Karma going to be cashing in Klepto in the top lane, Kassadin versus a ranged opponent, and the Azir going to be pushing in the mid lane, and potentially good news stories in both those lanes gives OnFleek some pretty clear areas of attack. However, you wonder why SKT's made this choice, and I think it plays into the same theory they showed in game number 1, and again, the stat we showed. When SANDBOX win, they're the slowest team at winning, Valdez. So, if you think you're not going to be punished and the game's not going to be killed at 22 to 32 minutes like a G2 and like the best teams around the world usually close a game, if you're in for a long time and you don't have to just focus on the good fighting times of early, why not Kassadin and scaling to get all your ducks in a row before you actually have to fight?
Yeah, the logic behind it certainly does line up when you do put all your ducks in a row. I was busy watching, actually, how somehow SKT knew that OnFleek was invading, even though it looked like he was outside the range of this ward that was strategically placed down very early to spot a play just like that. As Klid now, waiting as Ghost is going to put down his own ward, but is thinking about a level 3 gank into the bottom
It's a full clear top side to get this level 3. Also took the walls. You do not ever respect this, to be honest. OnFleek trying to deny any blue buffs going the way of Elise. No blue buff Elise bot lane gang.
This is not something you see very often, but we're going to be trying to bully here onto the cow, but all the roots are going to be pretty good. One more auto will do it, and the Ignite not going to do anything to Teddy. First blood already on a very creative jungle path from Klid.
SKT are smurfing in the early game back-to-back. They had a great plan to answer the potential bot lane focus of the Draven in game number 1. And in this game, they give up one of their buffs in order to pull off a very unlikely bot lane gang. Klid also flashing to ensure that effort would be registering on the grand entrance. They understood that how often does Kassadin games look when they're a loss? In Kassadin losses, level 1, Kassadin has to flash, or the team loses out because level 1 is atrocious, the worst of almost any champion, and then from there gets relentlessly attacked. Well, they don't allow that to happen, they make an aggressive play, and now OnFleek will have to go for something creative under turret to make this work.
Well, Dove is going to take the worst trade of all time as he is getting tunked for half his health bar, and then OnFleek decides, well, this isn't going to work out. You can see what they were trying to do, trying to bait FLICKR forward, but it does not work out as OnFleek going to be spotted now rotating into the jungle.
The Kassadin buff this patch was one of the biggest I've ever seen, as I think Effort's
here. Wow, okay, well this is not the first time we've seen this from Effort, kind of all out on his own. Not much to shout about there, as a half-hearted clap from the audience is going to come out as Effort just dies again.
Hands in the cookie jar. You look at what he was doing. Well, he got some sick wards on the jungle camp's bot side, which relieves a lot of pressure from Kassadin. But sadly, cost for doing so is his life. Nice surround from SANDBOX. Important punishment there, as those wards would have been welcome respite for the lanes. This is so well done by SKT, because SKT play around how weak their level 1 is and the fact that their mid laner has no priority by creating a gank timing that should never exist. And Elise bot lane with 1 gank level 3 that early, but this time trying for an equally smart play. If it gets his wards, but doesn't get his life.
Yeah, just trying to do a little bit too much, perhaps, but he's He's read like a book and shut down. Not the first time we've seen from Effort. Has a bit more mobility on this Rakan compared to the Alistair from the wild card. But either way, we'll have to see how Effort's situation develops as Clid looking for another gank here, potentially towards the mid lane, but there is vision to spot him.
And a lot of Clid's job is not to gank Azir for a just level 6 Kassadin. It's much more to just give some wards, give some priority, allow FLICKR to farm up. Because the buff I was alluding to was previously there was 40 base damage on the W, which is the auto attack reset. SANDBOX start to lock eyes once again. It was buffed 30 damage to 70 at level 1, which is 75% more base damage. It's a crazy buff that really allows basically last hitting and in general base damage, 30 extra damage on the ability you max last at level 1 means that your mid game you just have 30 more damage in your kit, right? Which is a very, very nice amount of base damage on a champion that AP comes a lot later compared to core itemization like mana.
Well, not sure about this one on Fleek. Looks like he went straight into the pit with the flag and drag and is now in a bit of trouble. Flash down here now for Joker. He just might be the guy who goes down from all of this, and they're feeding FLICKR too as the kill is going to go the way of the Kassadin Ghost. Trying to get something on the backside, but that's all SKT in the tree.
And getting first roam from mid lane as well on this Kassadin. The reason why I mentioned the champion as a struggling one in the past is that FLICKR hasn't always been willing to make first roam out of his lane. I remember a lot of games on Cass and Vlad where he gets out-roamed by an enemy mid laner, even without priority, finds his time to skip lane. This has been a great trend in 2019 as SKT's mid laner being much more willing to roam with Clid as his mid-jungle duo, makes the nice roam, gets the kill, and the items start to roll in.
That they do. Had a bit of AP to start with the blasting wand.
We're back.
As Joker, what is going on here? Might be baited as Clid very fast in the spider form, gonna hop on a Ghost and then do a bit of burst damage as trying to clear out the ward, but now he's 0-3.
It's not understanding the lane state on a support like Alistair. This is his first game of Alistair since summer season opened up, and it's a champion whose laning phase is a lot more tricky than normal Joker picks. Too far down the lane, dies a second time. Nice of SKT to capitalize on the laning phase mistakes, but it's a little bit too easy for SK Telecom T1.
See what happens here is on Fleek. He flags and misses. Oh, God. Not the first time we've seen this, as Canyon says hello. And, well, he ends up baiting Joker in as no flash. You're level 4. You're an Alistair. What are you to do when you're 1v4?
Those EQs over the wall. Was Canyon, right, who was tilted off the moon for Dumb One Gaming. Now, his fellow promotion champion, and Joker walks up thinking, I can clear this control ward, but he just has no business doing so. If Clid could be bot side, he could die. And that is, in fact, the 1+1 that leads to his second death.
Yeah. It's almost like Alistair syndrome, where you know the champion to be this guy who presses R and is unbreakable, literally, and you just can't really deal damage to him, and he survives for a long time. One of the best engaged supports in the game. But disengaging and trying to run away when you don't have flash and you're not level 6, not very good at that. And we've seen that multiple times now here in this game, as Joker has been so kind to show us. And now going for the Ocean Drake SKT, up about 100 gold. It's pretty negligible right now, but look at where all the gold is on the side of SKT. Kill to Kassadin and 201 Xayah on the bottom side is going to be massive as they pick up Ocean and Infernal is next.
And if Elise can walk mid, put down a control ward while FLICKR control ward the other side, and Ocean Drake is given to a Kassadin. That scaling game we talked about seeming pretty academic. So SANDBOX, how do they win is a query you should ask. Karma Ezreal has been a combo, whether it's mid and AD carry or top and AD carry, that's been routinely criticized because it is very narrow, but rolling in the mid game with that utility on Karma and trying to siege down turrets on Kassadin and Aatrox who have no wave clear between the two is a very timing-focused attack, even more narrow than their Game 1 win conditions we were talking about. And this Karma is going to be going a lane-focused build, so won't have Ardent Sensor Athenes online at 20 minutes. So given all of those, SANDBOX is going to have to be on point. Otherwise, SKT going to get that late game they drafted for.
It's always a lot of fun when your late game composition gets the win in the early game, as that Xayah is pretty fed now, as FLICKR taking good trades in the mid lane. Effort level 5 is in the North River. Kind of interesting to see him all the way up there. Joker actually hits level 6 first somehow. Now Summit just doing karma things. Never should be in real danger, as now we're trying to take a good trade onto FLICKR, but again, it's Kassadin, so you're not really going to get that gank off.
No real threat in this matchup. The moment that he gets the Rift Walk, he is very, very safe. There used to be a lot of particular mechanics around matchups, like you remember LeBlanc Azir, where LeBlanc's second part of W could go over the wall, but others couldn't. All a little bit more elementary these days after all the changes to Ultimate. Kassadin going to be just fine. This is going to be a free farm lane, which is happy for Karma, but Aatrox going CS for CS, and there being such a narrow kind of area of attack for SANDBOX when it comes to potentially the siege win condition. Like, they get a Baron at 20 minutes. They could definitely close this game, right? Kassadin chooses the wrong time to walk up, dies, and they win the game. But if that doesn't happen, the else is SKT victory. Cleared himself. He actually gets the Rift out. Another objective for the Kassadin team to pick up.
Yeah, and that's going to be the Rift Herald, and also on Fleek has to flash away. Effort with a nice little roam comes up to the top side. Notice that he hit level 6 on the mid lane XP. So runs in, takes level 6, comes on over, gets the flash away. And SKT seem to be already running away with the early game in this one. A nice amount of gold going to Ghost in the bottom side. You'll notice that he has the win in the CS by 10. But not going to waste any time here is Clid. Going to already throw down Shelly and get a charge down and give some gold to the jungler and the top laner.
Gives me no pleasure to say it, but this feels like the epitome of a Game 2 victory for SKT. Anything can happen, but if both teams play perfectly from this point, SKT wins 100% of the time because they've already done so much of the early legwork and they have great scaling options, and that tells you that SANDBOX chose narrowly. Like they won't be able to engage on those win conditions, and kind of looking already to potential SKT mistakes more than SANDBOX good plays in order to potentially come back in this game.
Yeah, keep in mind that the Ezreal did get nerfed on this patch, so we'll be not able to do quite as much super oppressive mid-game poking with that arcane shift. But I mean, he's the guy that's doing pretty well, but at the end of the day, still might have even less gold just because the Xayah is killing everything around the Ezreal. FLICKR sitting here just really enjoying life. I remember I was playing solo queue with you a lot, and I used to play a lot of Kassadin. This is like the perfect game where you're just sitting back, you're not dying, you get an early kill, you're scaling, your whole team's doing well, and it just feels so comfortable.
And you know how much pressure a Kassadin's on by how many points they had to put in queue? He only went for 3. He's got first max on E, rolling around. Kassadin's build usually is super greedy, which is the late tier, Seraph's second after Rod of Ages. So even though you're not getting the tier catalyst, you don't have the tier catalyst lull in terms of power in the early game. You want to focus on just finishing the Rod first. So given all of that, Baker's just having a walk in the park. Probably feels like a practice game for him. Not quite level 16 yet, but the level 11, which is the start, is very close.
Yeah, he's just going to be chilling there. He definitely has a lot of gold saved up, as he has picked up that Rod of Ages quite a while ago. You'll notice that he's even doing well in the trades. And on Fleek is just hanging around mid lane. I'm not really sure why. Really trying to bait out the shift forward from the Kassadin and then go for the kill. But if, FLICKR never takes that bait, then he's never going to die.
There's no point to draft Ezreal Alistar unless you're willing to play bot side. So when he's sitting in the mid lane trying to make a play on Kassadin with flash up, a lot went wrong.
Sounds really
bad. A lot
bad.
went so wrong.
Yeah.
But then again, every time he goes bot lane after the 2 deaths, it's potentially a lost cause anyway, Valdez. So.
Well, Teddy's level 10 and Joker's level 6. Trying to come on in here as TP is going to come in from the Azir. It looks like engaging onto the Kassadin, but Effort able to get into that backline. FLICKR's still alive. The stopwatch going to be pretty good for the side of On Fleek, but not good enough. as a lot of poke damage does come out from SANDBOX. Notice that FLICKR can back and TP back here if he does want to. The Infernal going to release here, as where is that TP? In he does come, and you notice that SANDBOX says, no, we cannot do this. They're taking too much damage. And they can't even go for a smite steal because their jungler is dead. And now FLICKR, level 11, gonna come in here with Teddy and begin the landslide that is SKT in game 2. They take out a kill, and they're even going for more here as the Infernal Drake gonna be taken down.
Are we doing it?
Everybody's carousing here as FLICKR is gonna go in for the kill. Does go down for it, but he's just trying to set up his team as well.
Kill the minions, please!
Oh, they're not killing the minions as, okay, this is becoming extremely sloppy. Not sure about this one. SKT is on fleek now. Doesn't have his Cataclysm, goes in and immediately runs away. As, okay, well, Khan wasn't having any of that. He wasn't having that beef go to waste as they will be eating that for dinner again. For death for Joker as SKT take down pretty much everything, and you could tell they're feeling pretty confident right now.
And you know why, Valdez? Because they're playing with their food in a comp that has a Kassadin. If you're playing with your food with Kassadin, you already kind of won the game, right? Usually you have to be oh so careful. SKT get the first kill, and then it's just about buying time for FLICKR to reset and come in full health, full mana. Because SANDBOX have to tank the Drake that half resets, and then you're taking damage, no smite. SANDBOX need to make a decisive call. That call should have been, get the hell out. They don't make that call, so even though SKT take a lot of liberties, fade away E over the wall, if you don't mind, from Clid, they can take the liberties and cash in the checks. So they're just having fun.
FLICKR there, probably on his 800 mana. R does lose all of his mana in the end as Clid hilariously dies to the turret at the end of it all. Karma lives for an incredibly long time, but eventually dies on fleek, gets flashed, and then even Joker nearly dies, and then he does.
You know what team looks the most improved with 916 coming in? The easy answer is to say SKT because they're winning, but you remove Azir Corki and they get really interesting, Valdez.
Well, trying to go for a rotation here. Did Khan go too far? He doesn't have his flash, so the entire team rotating and the teleport means that he is going to be punished for this one. As OnFleek trapped himself in there. Didn't even have to use his E until this moment. Clid in a bit of trouble trying to lock down someone, but eventually does die. As poor Joker might just be dying again here. Does have the Unbreakable lasting for quite a while, but not all that long when you're at level 6, and Teddy has a lot of items. 404, cow not found.
And all of those kills on the top side, one of them matched, and 2 turrets could go down in this trade. In fact, should go down. Kassadin has an auto reset, no Sheen, no problem. So it's nice that they made a play, but with that many people sent top side, need to get more of an objective there. There's no Herald to take. Here's the replay. You asked if Khan was dead. You can see the exact moment where the answer is hell yes. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. It's now. With the TP coming in, there's no way you get that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like even the second he got tethered, I'd say he was probably dead. As OnFleek really just has not been having the best game. It looks silly, but actually in the end it does also trap Clid, so you can argue that, again, it was a play to try to trap the kill.
All right, what we doing? What we doing, FLICKR?
Well, FLICKR's level 11 only on his ultimate, but we have 2 teleports coming on in. FLICKR going in for kills now, as he does have his team finally coming in. And now is going a little bit too far forward, but actually, can he get this trade kill onto OnFleek? The answer will be no. As getting pretty overconfident at this point in time. Summit still on the run. See if Effort can slow him down here. Summit, nice dodge into Tether, and that Karma's actually pretty fast, and now Dove and Ghost at full health trying to get some kills on the backside, but Teddy at full health as well, trying to defend, is going to push them away for now and get the rest of SKT to safety.
Well, we're trying our best to make it competitive by being headstrong, we'll call it, from the side of SKT. The throws is usually what you say about a solo game that looks like this. Remember that the Ardent Sensor is done, the Karma was grouped. FLICKR had no business being that far deep. They actually made it a 5v4 with teleports, but they're trying to stave off a play where FLICKR's trying to assassinate a tank Karma under his inner turret. So that's the part where you're like, wait, did we need to do this, SKT? The answer is no, but it sure makes it fun.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. You know, we had a lot of action back and forth. FLICKR goes for the kill on Fleek instead of just cleaning up Summit, which was also a big question, especially with Dove rotating down. As looks like we're fighting again with the Infernal Drake coming up here. SKT looking for a second one here, in control of game number 1 and 2. Feeling pretty happy about the Drake draws, and again, just gonna burst it down with no hope of SANDBOX even getting in there. And now that's 2 Infernal Drakes to SKT in game 2.
As far as our stats show, it's the first career game from Joker on this. Alistar hasn't played it in the LCK, and it's certainly showing. Ult was down to start that, as FLICKR already used his R, but he's going to be fine.
Yeah, Joker's like, well, I already learned my lesson. I'm not allowed to go forward in this game. I'll just clear out the control ward. Don't mind me. And it's okay, that's a nice amount of damage. Gonna stop the back from Khan. Really just trying to take out the turret as much as possible. Kassadin has to get close to the wave in order to clear it, so you are missing a bit of wave clear with him in the mid lane, but at least they do have the Xayah. I'm not sure if it's enough.
Definitely this is the scenario we talked about. Karma plus Ezreal grouping, with a Baron especially, is trouble for SKT. They do have to engage in that scenario or they will lose a lot. Mid lane turret goes down for a half second. There is the Sun turret, instantly replaced. And good news, Sun turret's working, so chances of the 1 AM night go down. FLICKR visits the side lane, slowly working on his Seraph's Embrace. Man, is that turret? What's happening there? Weird. Let's just pretend it's all fine.
He's fine.
14,000 damage worth of Kleptomancy has gone into the Aatrox.
Wow. Yeah, it's a fun lane for the Karma, that's for sure. Was never in danger of dying, even though some of the trades looked okay from the side of Khan. You just gotta hope that you're more useful, I suppose, in these team fights, which you can be, especially if you do assassinate the Karma early, so she does drop in utility.
Double pen build being worked on by Clid. We'll see if he finishes the Morellonomicon compared to game number 1. The value there not going to be as high as it was for Dove. On the Talia, FLICKR rolls the side lane. His core items completed. Comes to the mana stacking. We'll see where he goes next. Focusing on CDR, the CDR boots.
Just trying to build up as much as possible, especially when he does hit level 16, he's going to be hopping all over the Rift.
Wow, look at this. Actually, behind in goal is the Karma versus the Aatrox, in spite of the Kleptomancy being freely procced and all the damage that was dealt. Fleek can't even protect his control ward clearing here, as SKT have river control. Again, something that should just be pain going through your ears if you're in it. SANDBOX player or SANDBOX fan, because the Kassadin comp having river control is never great. And now Summit, the Yakety Sax music is implied.
He's on the run again. Someone catch this thief. That's what SKT is saying here, as well, you're not really going to run away from a Kassadin, so. Eventually, we will see Summit dying with one last swing of the blade, as down he will go. FLICKR was the one guy that was actually noticeably down in gold when we took a look at the gold numbers. He was down about 1,000, so that help is going to help him, or that kill is going to help him catch up there with a bit of extra gold.
2 levels away from the dreaded level 16. SKT had the read that even with 2 TPs down, there was no way SANDBOX, if Karma wasn't there, would try Baron, and I tend to agree with them. They're not tanky enough to go onto the Baron, and they don't have enough damage without the Ardent Sensor buffing up Azir and Ezra. Remember, the Azir nerf is largely targeted for level 9 onwards with 5 points in Q. The extra 2-second cooldown there is a lot of rotations of Q removed from the Azir's toolset. Wonder what percentage of damage it reduces those late game team fights. I'm sure Riot has stats that we don't have access to, but at the end of the day, definitely does lower the late game reality of this Azir. Just return to the normalcy here, which for game number 2 has been SKT being able to make their moves and get creative doing.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the numbers. I don't know the exact cooldown on the Q now.
It used to
when
be
it is fully
9,
leveled.
now it's 7.
Okay.
So it's a pretty big nerf. It's about a 2% nerf or so.
Or you mean 7 and now it's 9?
No, it used to, yeah, so that's right. You're correct.
Yeah,
So it's longer now.
Yeah.
So it's a 30% nerf. Comes to amount of availability. Sorry on the math there.
Yeah, but either way, does certainly affect that Azir. Dove still 7-1, but that's, you know, almost entirely, actually is entirely on the old Azir, the 915 Azir. As we're all grouped up in the mid lane now.
This
trying
is
to go
good.
5v5.
ARAM, SANDBOX is happy because they got a big range advantage here, so they don't have wards in their flanks though, and those could be the costly ones.
On fleek going in, but so is Zephyr. Gets 3 of them. Oh, 5 of them actually with the Tarm. A 3-for-2 special as, wow, already the kill gonna come in. FLICKR looking for the kills. Finally has the Xayah to help out, and even though he goes down, it really just doesn't matter as the rest of SANDBOX is in a huge amount of danger. They're gonna let On Fleek go and go for the bigger prize that is the Ezreal. They'll take him out and keep On Fleek busy as the rest of them look to run at Baron.
Keep on trucking. They get a free Baron if Effort just watches On Fleek not get to recall. Effort just needs to run it On Fleek for as long as possible. Baron guaranteed if he stops On Fleek reset.
Keep on going, Effort.
Get in there, Effort. Get in there.
This guy's a stalker, but it's a good one, at least for SKT this time around. Look at On Fleek desperately trying to go around, and Summit's going to TP for nothing. As down will go the Baron. They can't get it onto the Kassadin, which is a small point, but the rest of them will take it after this great fight for SKT.
And while the ARAM suited them, the All-In did not. They didn't have wards on their flank, and a deletion of the utility quarterback in Karma guaranteed what we already knew. Baker's not level 16, so he actually has to think about his report cooldown and doesn't get presence of mind till he's 300 health, so actually dies, and yet it didn't even matter a little bit.
Not at all. I mean, just consider Ghost was basically dead, and also On Fleek had to flash to get the kill on the one Kassadin. Your Xayah's almost full health. She has 6 kills now and 7 assists. That's 13 out of 15 of the kills so far in the game as well. So having a ball right now is Teddy in this one from early to late. They don't even need that Kassadin to be a menace, which, by the way, he's only 1 level away from that big menace time.
Yep. I ain't got too much analysis for this one, Valdez. I think SKT can afford to make a lot of silly mistakes and still win. They're really, really far ahead compositionally, the double Infernal. The gold lead has never been the truest reflection of who was winning this game. And we're still at its highest ebb, which is around 6,000 gold at the moment. Effort walks up and is waiting for SKT to decide how they're going to close the game. The one thing you can mention is they don't have great siege, so they're going to have to use that level 16 to die.
Yep, everybody hide under the table or a chair or whatever you can find, because the
Kassadin will get in there.
He's level 16. He'll find you, but you've got to try to survive for as long as possible. That is the goal, at least, as FLICKR. Oh boy.
The only counter to level 16 Kassadin, again, that was reflected by OMT in the 94-minute game is single target burst, of which SANDBOX has none. So there is literally no way for them to deal with him.
That's unfortunate. I suppose flag and drag will just be buffered. And then if the Alistair can flash headbutt pulverize, then the next rip off will be available. Not much you can do, as he's on 2.5 items, but already feels like the scariest guy in the game.
Yeah. He definitely is a very, very scary man on this Kassadin. No skin, no problem. As Khan actually getting a nice push here. He can start ignoring the Karma a little bit easier now.
He's up 2 levels. Karma's pretty fast and gets a lot of klepto procs, but doesn't matter.
Look at the amount of experience difference. 2-level lead, 4-level lead, same in the mid lane. 6 levels. Yeah, 6 levels, the difference between the 2 teams across the 5 players. So that is a lot of extra experience and implied gold, which once again buffers up the number. As we're starting to look at numbers, they never look big until you realize they stack, and with presence of mind, it doesn't even matter. You don't go out of mana. So, yeah, it adds up. He's got 3,000 mana. He's a big deal. He's got 600 AP.
1.4 second cooldown on Rift Walk. He just picked up the Rabadon's Death Cap. It's where a lot of that extra AP you were talking about does come from. And also picked up a cheeky Negatron Cloak. Why not?
And he's the closest we have to the hard carries from other MOBAs that have big tournaments going on now that I won't spell out, but are similar to Dota, a game I used to play.
Thanks for not spelling that out.
We don't have a lot of hard carries in League, and I think level 16 Cassidy is about as hard a carry as you could really talk about. And you know what? He's going to be on the screen soon, probably.
Well, on Fleek hasn't had the most fun game so far in this one, but at least he is going to survive this time around. Just barely. As Ghost trying his best to push everybody away. But we're just going 4-1. Get the Cassidy in the side lane, have him TP if he has to. Looks like Dove is going to be on clearing duty on this Azir.
So, how you feeling?
You know, you were talking about a game number 2 for SKT.
Well, this is the lull state where they don't actually have any range. They can't push without Baron or diving.
Yeah.
So sadly, even though the game is very much done, it doesn't end.
It doesn't end, and well, you were talking about the 2-0 victory so far, but I don't know. I was actually feeling a 3-0 victory.
I'm feeling the yakety sax, though. Here we go.
Here we go again. No Cassidy this time.
Well, speaking of yakety sax,
you're not going to catch him. Stop chasing the Cassidy.
Oh!
Yeah, that's when the conductor just pulls his hand to the side and immediately the horns stop abruptly. And yeah, the Yakety Sax are over. They kill the Karma. Nobody's bot lane, by the way. Teddy's like, okay.
Backdooring, baby.
I guess I'll take this away. Sure thing, no problem. If you want me to have it, I mean, thank you for the gift, says Teddy, who is 6-0-7. And everybody decided they would chase a Cassidy, so the game is definitely over. And there you go. That's going to be down on the inhibitor in the bottom side. Inhibitor is still left in the top side. You mentioned it's hard for them to end the game unless SANDBOX gift them inhibitors.
The good news is they can take the bot lane inhibitor. That's the one that SKT have to respond to. Sorry, that SANDBOX have to respond to with a TP user first away from Baron. Makes their Baron take, which they do need to close the game a bit easier. So it's another in the SANDBOX loss and SKT advantage court. I think you're thinking about his flank options. He has just the most ability power.
1E and all of the little Raptors are gone. How about the little Ezreal?
Oh, it's coming soon.
Is
are you
the
ready
real
for
question.
some wombo?
Oh, he actually missed, but he's dead anyway. The QSS comes in, but Ghost is so dead. You are just all dead as in goes the Cassidy and out goes the SANDBOX. Going to be feeling pretty sad box after this game. As 34 minutes in, and it looks like SKT have pretty much done it, as only Karma is left to tell the tale for now.
Zaya's trying to catch him. Do they ignore the Karma or do they run at her? So far this series we've been running at her.
Yeah. Begin the horns and stop them immediately as Karma's going to die again, and game number 2 is going to be on the books here as SKT going to push in for the game victory here at 34 minutes. 21 kills to 6 did end up being the score as SKT will lock it in and take the victory to gain the lead 2-0.
Another great early game from SKT is the difference here. The Cassidy comp was getting all the neutrals, and then Cassidy was online, and it was just a case of when, not if, for SK Telecom T1 in game number 2. 2 games on the blue side, 2 losses. I guess this has to be the cursory red side choice from SANDBOX. They have side selection coming into game number 3. But when you're 3 match points down against SKT, maybe the damage has already been done.
That sign was cursed there for a moment as the T was upside down, but LCK and SKT had the K in common, and apparently they have a couple of W's in common as well. As SKT really trying to make a case for themselves to not only defeat SANDBOX, but potentially have a good matchup against Dom1. Before this match even started, we mentioned how Dom1 waiting seem like the scariest opponent waiting at the end of the tunnel here, as SKT T1 kind of just rolling through SANDBOX right now. Honestly, thought it would be a closer series, but so far SANDBOX have not been able to be up to the level that SKT has been today.
SKT have read SANDBOX's playbook. They know it better than SANDBOX does, and they know their tendencies. They're happy to go Cassid and sack some lane power, knowing that even if SANDBOX get ahead, we know they take a long time to close and our champs will get online. The reverse of that is true, Valdez. If you just get ahead with the scaling comp, the game's kind of over. At 13 minutes, like we called it much, much earlier, there was never a speck of doubt after that, and that included SKT being very fast and loose with just diving people in a turrets at 15 minutes for no reason. And eventually, Caston's level 17, and yeah, the game ends.
And again, Summit died. Just wanted to highlight that here, as that was a bit of a mini game that was going on in this one. You can see he was like, yeah, maybe I can stop the minions from pushing in. And then he died again, as FLICKR hit level 18 after that kill. Did a hell of a lot of damage there in that game, actually tying with Summit, which is pretty funny. How much damage Summit did in the top lane and just how much gold he had. But then at the end of the day, because of a couple of team fights gone wrong and a couple of missed calls, he was just not really able to be useful at all in that game.
Let's not give SKT free red side any more than we need to. They have shown that with FLICKR being so happy to get limber and go back to some golden oldies, their red side is very fearsome.
Yeah.
And they are now undefeated on red side so far, 4-0 in these playoffs.
And yeah, that'll be the question. What will SANDBOX pick for game number 3? At this point, I think you have to mix it up. Pick the red side. Your team is the red team. Your SANDBOX, do it.
Yeah, there you go. I didn't even think about that one, but 3 match points. SANDBOX needs to turn around now with a fearsome game 3.
Surely feels like it would give them a better chance, but we'll go to a quick break and come back for game 3.
나쁘지 않긴 해.
그냥 싸우자, 그냥 싸우자.
용 생각하지 마 이거.
아니, 그냥 천천히 해도 돼. 그냥 천천히 안 해서.
나온다.
야, 나 디포야.
보자 이거.
야, 걸게. 왔다.
이즈
이제 개피, 이제 잡았어.
안에 맞아. 이즈 노플.
이제 잡았어. 이겼어, 한타 이겼어.
카르마 모르겠다 이거. 바텀 가면 끝나. 바텀 텔.
얘 노플이야. 이거 잡아야지.
바텀 텔. 나중에 얘 노플이긴 한데.
야, 간다. 이거 잡아줘.
노플인데.
잡을게. 아래 줘요.
끝내던가 이거 그냥.
아래 줘요.
끝내자 이거.
오케이. 그냥
끝내자.
너무 잘 버티.
빨리 끝내자 이거.
버려.
가자. 나이스.
좋았다.
혼란, 카오스, 역대급 혼전이라고 읽을 수 있을 만한 상황. 역대급 암호를 찍다. 역대급 시즌입니다. 역대 원탑 SK 이런 적이 있었나요? 혼전 양상 1위가 맨날 바뀌어요. 맨날. 아 정말 역대급 SK예요. 멜레 봐봐. 역대급 결승전을 시작하겠습니다.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here after game number 2, and it is a quick 2-0 start to the night here for SKT over SANDBOX. I feel like they've won in drafting and on the Rift both times, especially in game 2. Seemed pretty over very early on. We have some good news, though.
Yeah.
SANDBOX has chose red side for game number 3. Give them a little round of applause for finally figuring it out. We'll see if that does help them going into game 3.
I think the only way you can get away with blue side is if you have really blessed solo laners mechanically. So I think Dumb1 Gaming could get away with it, but no team has to give SKT more than 2 games on the red side because every team remaining, which is Dumb1 in the semifinal and Griffin in the final, have side selection advantage, Valdez. So SANDBOX will choose red side for game number 3. How does this affect pick and ban? Because SKT's reward for being placed on blue side is a bit more flexibility in the bans.
Yeah, they can leave stuff up, such as Akali if they want to pick it for themselves. They can leave the Aatrox. I mean, the Aatrox hasn't been banned yet. Has actually been played in both games by SANDBOX and has lost. But for now, it is just going to be 2 support bans, Thresh and Yuumi, trying to target out Joker so far.
Does SANDBOX ban Akali is a question they're asking internally, because I don't think there's any chance SANDBOX gets access to Akali. They're probably the best Akali squad, given that Dove and Summit are both super good at the pick. They don't have the best Akali player, in my opinion. That is Showmaker, but they are really flexible with Akali. Akali is super high power level right now. As an SKT fan, coming out there.
Swap to EU is greater than NA, and immediately the camera was like, no, none of that.
That's how you get on camera. You give them SKT, and then you show them how you really feel. Shout out to the French fan in the audience. An Ezreal ban here. Maybe they're trying to force SKT to first pick Xayah and not Akali, but that seems unconscionable. You're going to take Akali first pick.
Yeah.
And SANDBOX have to take... I guess you could take a Draven lane if you really wanted to, but surely you take away Xayah, given that has been Teddy's weak side champion so far, and they banned away the other weak side bot laner in Ezreal.
Morgana already banned out here. Xayah Rakan in consideration right now.
Xayah jungle. Don't take the Rakan here. I don't think that's smart for them to do it. You can take the Rakan at Dove's pick and then ban stuff like Morgana. Morgana's already banned, but then you can ban maybe a further pick from there. So I think you go jungle pick here. Now, Xin Zhao's getting banned in the second round. Would there be any argument to inflate its value up this far? You do start to wonder. And with the Morgana ban, they're going to try to be bold. They're going to try to take Rakan and be a full counterpick team. And I think this is very risky. Effort's champion range is all of the supports. He plays a lot more range supports than, for example, his teammate in Mara. You could take Kai'Sa Nautilus and play through bot side here, the Kai'Sa unbanned for the first time this series, and they put faith in Effort's champion pool and say, whatever, we'll tank 2 more bans. We got Aatrox Akali. We bazingaed champion select.
And a further pick of something that could have been selected here for the support position. The Karma's taken away by SANDBOX. And I'm just like, you're not going to put Summit onto Karma versus Aatrox again, right? But it definitely does feel like something that is very likely after that Karma does get locked in. As now these second bans could get very interesting, as you mentioned already, for support bans, and 2 of them technically picked here in the game, but 1 still has to be taken for SKT.
So they could ban Nautilus Volibear, but there's still more, right? There's so many champions that may not rear their ugly heads too often, but you could consider in the support role, and Effort plays more range supports than most of our support players. I don't really know how much you can relieve of that lane. Meanwhile, goodbye to the Xin Zhao that has been banned all 3 games, Valdez.
Yeah, it's not going to give on Fleek that chance, and there has been no early picks so far of the Xin Zhao. So they're going to skip on any more support bans and actually take away the Sejuani from Clid here early. And to say, well, we don't want to deal with that alongside of already 2 melees, Akali and Aatrox, who can get pretty interesting with that Sejuani in the jungle.
where do we go from here? Because a 5th pick, Summit counter pick like a Fiora, on paper is one of the few ways I can see SANDBOX beating SKT as a game goes on, and yet that hasn't been the way they've approached this series. They've been putting him on Flex Karma duty, but this time they will extend the Flex. So I am of the belief that it has to be a last pick for Summit. And picking jungle here does lend credence to that idea. How are SKT going to approach this draft, as the jungle pool is a bit thinner than it has been in previous moons, as OnFleek has stolen away Clid's favored Lee Sin.
And Lee Sin and Xin Zhao, we could see another chance at Elise. He looked pretty good in game number 2, and frankly was a bit robbed of the MVP from there as well. He's going to hop right back on it and say, well, I better get that MVP in game number 3. See what he does do here on the Elise. That does get locked in, as well as Leona. Everett really doesn't care. He's like, okay, you can ban everything you want, but I still got Leona.
Could have gone Nami, could have gone Leona. It really depended what they wanted to round out the comp, and more engage is needed. So they're going to feel really good about this pick. SANDBOX, this would be another Karma top lane. Okay, they're going to do it again. They roll back Karma top lane. Will be LeBlanc into the Akali, which is a good matchup. 2 tethered champions, so 2 champions that can actually make an Akali look vulnerable, and yet Akali has looked unbelievable power level-wise in recent moons. On this particular patch, I do not believe there were any Akali nerfs. They're coming in the future patch, but we're sticking locked on 9-16 for playoffs. Akali really damn strong right now, and I'm not even sure a couple of tethers will be enough.
Akali, just another champion that, with that kit, you just have to scale down her numbers. You have to take pieces of her kit out. And so far, they've done all of that. Riot has tried to take the power level down, but she's still first pick, and even banned the majority of the time here, still in the LCK. So FLICKR, he showed a bit of flair with the Echo and the Kassadin. Now he's going back to a tried and true on the Akali.
And I hope they have used, I guess, the combined 30 minutes between Game 1 and 2 and Game 2 and 3 to finally get the claws into Clid's jungle pathing, because he has the option of trying to back up the Leona engage support or flip one of the lane matchups that are at the moment SANDBOX favored in terms of pick and bans. Now, he won't be starting red side clear like he has the last 2 games, most likely, as we have flipped over to blue side for SKT, but jungle difference has been there in the early game, and that has been enough for SKT to cruise largely to a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, Clid's been owning the Rift so far. We'll see if he can do it again in game number 3 right now. Here we go, back onto the Rift this time around. It's 1 best of 5 for tonight, but as I was saying halfway through Game 2, it just feels like SKT are so dominant here in the series, looking even more dominant against SANDBOX than they did against Akali. Afreeca. And, yeah, I mean, it really feels like they're running on all gears right now, and everything's turning and going really well for them. We'll see if they can keep it up to finish out the series, or if SANDBOX is going to take one back.
I don't think SKT's looked this good since they were kind of rolling over Kingzone and Griffin in the playoffs of spring season. Even in their 9-match win streak, so many of those games were, we'll outscale you and not really have to put up much of a fight to do so. And yes, there were colors of that in the Kassadin pick in game number 2, but their level 1 plans, their mid-jungle synergy that was obviously fantastic at MSI and once again has looked really on point. Their willingness to have their mid laner roam rather than FLICKR's usual playstyle of being largely immobile in mid lane. Like, this has been SKT firing on all cylinders, and they've also played on both their tendencies and attacking the enemy's tendencies. So, really been a pleasure so far from SKT. Dove actually tanks that trade in pretty awful fashion, as he is half health for about 100 damage onto FLICKR.
Right after the 1 and 3 on the Blanc stat pops up underneath this mid lane, as Dove has a bunch of champions that he's great on, as winning ratios on here in Summer, but LeBlanc is not one of them. But still wanting to try to shut down FLICKR, they said. Maybe this is the way that we can win this one, but have to still wait to have them prove that to us.
Small buff to LeBlanc on this patch, 0.1 AP onto Q, so a bit more damage in the mid game is kind of your takeaway there. Is a frustrating matchup for the Akali, as we can tell very clearly, and not even the Shroud is going to really change too much of it because the Tether does have that reveal if it does lie. So in the early game, pretty easy to be able to blow a flash here, but this is a great lane state for FLICKR because he's actually under no threat of Tether into Lee Sin kill. He's happy enough to have the minion wave stay under turret until he gets a little bit going in terms of some levels and some items.
Minion dematerializer in the bottom lane. You don't see that every day. Effort just wants to make sure that he can secure some of these cannons for his bottom laner in Teddy.
Like this in series like this make you wonder about how SKT have been so swingy this year. 1-5 start into the recent losing streak that caused them to lose what seemed like a vice grip on first place. It seemed like SKT would cruise into the grand final, which will be played next Saturday, 8 days from now at the Korea University Tiger Dome. But that didn't go that way, right? They dropped those series, one against Hanwha Life, the other one against Damwon, and things got more tricky. They're looking to become the second team after themselves 2 years ago to run this entire gauntlet. That's FLICKR, he's dead.
Getting in there, and he is going to pick up that first blood. Once again, just really trying to bait a little bit too hard. It happened in game number 1 up against the Talia where he gave first blood to Dove, and it'll happen again here in game 3 as Dove keeping his cool and picking up the first blood.
That was really easy. The moment the tether went down, it was always going to be a kill to Dove. Why would FLICKR be so far up as teleport Akali? Seems a little bit silly, but like you say, it does flow on to one of the few criticisms we'd have of this series. A couple of solo kills have gone the way of Dove against FLICKR. Now here's Clid, and he's also been very on point. This is harder to pull off. It is Karma with Flash.
Just gonna flash there, and Clid slowed down too much from the Mantra Q, so can't quite follow Flash. They wouldn't have enough damage to get on in there and make sure the kill happens. So, yeah, just FLICKR trying too hard to bait a little bit, and he gets caught out twice. That's been a recurring, unfortunate theme for him.
Because the question always has to be why, right? And his jungler is topside. And yes, he's trying to bait for his jungler, but it feels like he doesn't. You know, the amount of distance away from his jungler there is too much, and I think that was the same case on the other side of the map in the previous game. So it does seem like a bit of a disconnect there. Been great at backing up his jungler, but the timings when it comes to those mid lane ganks have been off.
Yeah, which is interesting, especially because FLICKR and Clid have been having some pretty good communication of recent times, but fortunately not so far in a couple of the plays. I think that's more FLICKR's fault than Clid's. But either way, early Ocean Drake here at 540 is going to go down to SANDBOX as taking a nice little trade here is the Aatrox. But again, it's just the Karma who's stacking up the gold and the items.
Do you wince more at the Qs registering or all the inevitable auto-attack kleptomancies that a Karma will get after the 3 Qs are done? Which one are you on? I feel like
it's the autos for me.
It's also the autos for me. It's weird because some people are like, wow, Aatrox does so much, and I'm just like, oh, it's so annoying.
Yeah.
It's so annoying to be auto-attacked and your gold jacked from your pocket.
Yeah. But you can't just sit there and not do anything as the Aatrox, or else the Karma will just move forward and auto-attack you more. And then, you know,
damned if you do.
Yeah, she'll get 6 procs of the Klepto, and then her Q will come back off cooldown, and she'll do it again.
Oh, Dove is actually quite a lot of CS behind in the way the matchup has gone, and not going to be as important because he got the kill, but it definitely stops him from having a big snowball lead here. This has largely been because the minion wave has been in a really awkward spot, largely frozen, next to the, I guess, torches you would see on the corners of the wall there. Here's Summit. He's Karma.
Yeah. He's not really going to die. You only die if you make a gigantic mistake as the Karma. or you just get totally outplayed.
You get low, but yeah, it's the actual mortal tick where you're like, how did that happen?
He has 2 biscuits, like, he's totally fine.
Biscuits were changed on this patch. You get the first one at 2 minutes. As, the ult pops, so they're going for this one. It's a combo play.
Tether's gonna come down, and, well, he just got straight up killed as the flash was down from Summit. And all that talk about a big mess up and not being able to die, Summit proves us wrong as he just goes down in the solo kill on the top lane.
We didn't see that coming. The death was assured because Elise was topside with flash up, and yet we were surprised. So we'll accept our surprise. Big moment for Kana. Kana's been on this series. You know, he's been really good so far. As OnFleek tries to brawl, he's level up.
And now you're over the wall here with FLICKR in your face, and now you're going 1v3. Okay, that's going to go down. The cocoon onto the LeBlanc is actually perfect, and Clid able to flash to safety, just styling on them right now.
How does he get out with so much class, Valdez? It's so clean. From the SKT jungler, FLICKR even gets to red buff trade with Dove.
Oh, boy.
My 3-0 senses, to say they were tingling would not be correct. This is much more of a emergency alert as we get in Korea.
Yeah, you know, your phone's blowing up right now.
I know in North America they have emergency alerts and it's a new thing, but in Korea it's like, it's too hot outside. Your phone is now going to be vibrating for an hour.
It's a very windy day. You might want to take it easy. You stay inside. Summit might just die again. The cocoon is going to go wide, but they have the damage to do it as it's Elise, the best diving jungler in the game. If not, then she's top 2 because Easy Dive is going to come in, and a kill goes down onto Summit, who was forced to pick that Karma into the top lane again, and once again is not finding much luck in this game.
Tether hits. They don't have kick here, though.
Oh, but that is going to land, though, as the flash away from FLICKR. But does OnFleek have enough damage? No! The one last turret shot is going to kill him. And that is going to be a hide-your-face and embarrassment moment to the side of SANDBOX as FLICKR gets away again.
I think OnFleek baited his teammate there because he didn't have kicks. They didn't have the damage to pick up the kill. That's why my head was in my hands, because I saw it coming. OnFleek a couple of seconds away still from being able to pick up, and with red buff. FLICKR sticks around and,
trying to trade it back, and he will!
Wow, and look at the death animations, they were perfect!
Just lie down right beside each other there, as they'll both take a small little rest after that one. FLICKR lands the shuriken, and makes sure he can at least get the trade back.
Oh, we're going back all the way to this. Was it the dive, or was it solo kill? No, that was a solo kill. Nicely done by Khan. And from here, OnFleek had the level lead, and that's why he chose to get in and brawl. Opened with kick, understood, but watch Clid's escape here. It's quite delightful how things go. Obviously, he gets the big help, but the cocoon fortuitously lands on Dove, but then flashing over and avoiding the chains is the skill part of it. This wasn't the end of all the fighting, though, as OnFleek, this is such a Lee Syndrome moment, because this play is perfect if kick is up. But when kick is down, it's harder. I guess we fought again.
Dove here in live. Looks like he's having a bit of trouble. Is able to get back, but FLICKR's right there. Down you will go, Cutlass to the death. As 3-on-1, not exactly fair. And now they've got another kill here, potentially, onto Joker. As he is going to try to get away with that ignite is ticking. He's going to live with the flash and an ultimate, plus heal, just to get away from that one.
Mid lane, we're seeing more brawling.
OnFleek, just the most tilting series in games so far. Can he pick up the kill is the question. The Q is gonna miss, and he cannot get it. And now effort with the Moby boots, just gonna flash on in, and you will get swiped and taken out.
Sometimes it's not your day, Valdez, and that's the truth for SANDBOX Gaming. Is
oh boy,
Summit potentially is gonna be solo killed again, but never more apparent than on OnFleek, who is the Charlie Brown of this story. Nothing can go his way. Everywhere he goes, it's the opposite of the Midas touch. Everything falling apart for SANDBOX Gaming. Sure, everyone feels that same sinking feeling, or maybe the elating feeling, if you're an SKT fan.
Absolutely. OnFleek. Game number 1, it was all right. You know, it wasn't like a huge blemish on his career or anything. Game number 2, gets outplayed again. Game number 3, just the least, the worst of them all, unfortunately, as this is going to be another one You go in, you kick here, and you get out alive.
Yeah.
But no kick means you die.
Definitely the big bait here, but this was the awesome moment, and I love the death animation. I hope we get the full zoom. Come on, Riot Games, one time. As the red buff was why he stuck around, and you're like, oh, FLICKR, his Ignite's up. This is really risky. And it was, but he understood what could happen. He goes all in, and look at the death animations. Perfect. Reaching for her leg as she goes into the death chamber. This is what we missed, actually, through our last attempt at replays. How dare you?
It's a nice try, but fortunately they have 0 vision in the bottom side river. Count them, guys, 0. And they still don't. Finally, Joker's
all right, this is
getting
live.
in there.
I wasn't clear.
We live in the past here in the LCK sometimes with all the replays. As Dove, or not Dove, Summit in a bit of trouble here.
No!
Oh, that flash was a little bit too late. As now Khan, he's going to be hiding his face in a bit of embarrassment there. I think that would have been just the kill with the flash Q and maybe an auto to finish her off, but does not happen.
If I'm the SKT coach, if I'm Coma, I roll in afterwards. And I'm like, let's watch some clips to really remember this series. One of them is Khan messing up his Q flash. That's your lighter moment of the series. That was bad. But you know what? You get one. You know, you get one.
Sometimes you just can't flash at the right moment.
Oh
so
no, you don't get that one. No, you shut up, Valdez. You don't get to talk for a while now.
All right. Well, go ahead then with your solo cast, Papa.
Well, I mean, honestly, usually in a best-of-5 playoffs match, you're going to see a deep teleport here. I'll have to narrate this analysis. Khan is here. He wants some kills. Summoner's up on Ghost, not going to matter. Joker runs away. Can they make the grand escape here? The answer is yes.
No flash there for Khan, as unfortunately he wasn't able to get on in there, and now Summit is pretty much all alone. Dove left him for dead. As 2-on-2, they were never going to win that trade. And SKT, once again, feels like they're playing with their food, diving in the bottom lane now. No Feather Storm, down goes one, down goes another.
On Fleek's here!
On Fleek. Well, this is kind of cute. I'm not sure exactly what the idea is, as you're down 3 levels. Even with the challenging smite, you are not going to win this trade. As Rift Herald's in mid, and SKT fans can sit back, clasp their hands behind their head, cross 1 foot over the knee, and lean back and kind of enjoy what looks to be a 3-0.
One of those game states that's hard to lose, you know? Like, it's different to game number 2, and yet it feels the same. And what I was getting to when I was going to, get you to shut up and chastise you is not often in games like this can you have the lighter moments. Usually it's high-octane action. For game number 1 especially, it was a really close game. But isn't it interesting how halfway through game 3, it does feel a bit like we're watching an exhibition match from the Harlem Globetrotters. And if you were going to choose a squad to represent that over the course of 10 years, it would have to be SKT, right? But
so good.
This is very much great players having a day out and the enemy team not having too many chances.
Oh, Zaya died.
Oh, another solo kill.
Oh, what a surprise.
It really does feel like we're having a bit of fun here. On the side of SKT.
This is the playoffs, by the way. We're in best-of-5 territory, remember, guys? Doesn't really feel like that in this game.
We're just kind of waiting for what YouTube montage moments can happen. We don't need analysis anymore. We can both be play-by-plays.
That's fun. And
for, I guess, 80% of the audience, because, of course, we know how skewed this is towards SK Telecom. For SANDBOX, it's sad, because it's been a really great year from them. When they came into the league, they were the rampant favorites to finish 10th, because they had no players anyone had really heard of. We just assumed they would be a fodder team. It's been a really proud 2019 for them. They've overachieved in a big way to finish top 3, top 5, and yet they're going to have to kind of take a few lumps from this series and also potentially find a way to backdoor to Worlds. It's not impossible from them. They will be playing. I believe it's already locked in that they'll be playing in the second best of 5. It will be Afreeca Kingzone as the first best of 5. Winner plays SANDBOX, and then it's Dumb1 Gaming or SK Telecom. The remaining teams to be the final boss. So that's locked in. Don't let it distract from a great year, but it's not a great day.
It's going to be one they're going to try to forget, but hopefully a lot to learn from this one as we're watching again Summit die over and over on Karma. Just feels like bullying at this point, but again, we have Clid rotating, and we're 2-on-1ing the poor Karma that's so far behind, even more so in this game, 0-4. SANDBOX looking to take out their first turret, but it just doesn't matter as they're down 5,000 gold here, plus at 17.5 minutes. SKT looking to take down a tier 2 turret even, perhaps.
The moment Aatrox is solo killing people on this patch on 9-16 and Akali has 6 kills, you have no lane assignment options. And it's the sort of draft where the moment you get Akali and Aatrox, surely something had to go wrong. And the reason why I was sitting there with Kankui, again, one of the Korean analysts, trying to make sense of SANDBOX choosing blue side is we know what SANDBOX provide. They've got a great Draven player. We know how they like to play the game. They've got a great Akali player. What was known was clear, but that didn't justify choosing blue side and not getting counter picks. And so we were sitting there going, what is the super pick? What is the sexy pick they have to make us a believer of the blue side choice? And sadly, from game 1 and 2, the answer was they didn't have one, and it was SANDBOX. More is what it is on paper, i.e. the squad that just got promoted this year, that has made it to a best of 5, congratulations for you, rather than SANDBOX is this really intelligent team that could potentially do a number on SKT in a best of 5. We couldn't know until we saw it, but sadly the result is that SANDBOX didn't have any joker picks, any surprising picks, and SKT have read them like a book, and it's been nice to watch on their side, but sadly not a lot to talk about on the SANDBOX side.
Yeah, especially in this game, as it's 12-2. All the numbers, obviously, in SKT's favor. And, well, Faker's just going to dodge everything, and now we're looking for more damage, as now it absolutely does feel like a solo queue game, as we're just bursting people down 100-0 like it's nothing. It is
he hit it!
Oh, boy.
Beautiful.
Effort's like, this is my time to shine.
Effort's like, I want to keep my flash. And he did. Nicely done, Effort.
I want to add some good highlights.
That was a VAC moment for him. How many other esports can we reference in this cast?
Well,
Khan, that's not your base.
He's trying to slam
not your
dunk
base.
here in the backside. As, we're just diving. Teddy is going to pick up the kill. Khan is going to play bodyguard here.
Khan, that's their base.
Can he go 1v2 here?
Yes.
Yeah, he absolutely can. And now he's got his entire team behind him. And down will go on Fleek, and whoever the hell this is. Shall we start the Akity Sacks again? This time it's SKT running, though, as everybody's in the base of SANDBOX. And Effort's going to die. Summit, okay, thank you for resetting the kill counter. Now you're worth gold again, says SKT. And, yeah, well, we're just really smurfing in this game at this point.
Oh, yeah. This is hard to watch, and yet we'll just have fun and laugh about it, Valdez. That's what we've got.
Yeah.
Gonna keep the enjoyment level high.
Typical LCK style.
I mean, it's 20 kills in 20 minutes. This is typical LPL style. In this particular one, getting flexed on. At this point, SANDBOX are like, maybe I can get a kill or a montage play myself. Maybe a KDA can be changed. That's really all you've got going for it. There's so many different nuclear weapons. Look at this VAC moment, though. Beautiful.
Oh,
that's a headshot right there.
Played right into it, too.
And then Khan decided that they don't even get a base. He's so cruel. What a hard taskmaster. They don't have Raptor camps. They don't have jungle camps. They don't even have a base if Khan and Teddy are to be believed.
Flashing inside their base. And even with on-fleek spawning, Khan is level 13. Effort here.
Who's trapped with who?
Not sure about this one, but he's going to live for just a moment longer. And now SANDBOX are trapped in with SKT. Absolutely.
Get the boss plant! Oh, he got there.
Yeah, he did. He's not getting away, though. As Teddy, what's going on, buddy? Trying to go 1v2.
I think we're having too much fun, SKT.
Yeah, Dove actually did get away. They let him go up to the top side as rotations coming in, and now we're swapping parts of the map. SKT are now on red side. So you might want to flip over your monitors, guys, as Khan coming on down from the north.
Oh my god, he killed him with a Q! That was a human form Q assassination.
Followed him all the way down. Thought he was getting away.
Music is back.
Yeah, here we go again.
Summit has been playing a single-player RPG during this series.
Effort's going to join up and help out the Aatrox. It's happening on the mini-map here.
What single-player game does it feel like Summit's playing? I want to say Stardew Valley. He's a farmer.
A farm?
Yeah. He's trying. He's trying to tend to his farm, but it's getting invaded by dastardly
I feel like he's
SKT
playing
foes.
Metal Gear Solid or something. He's trying to run away so
big
hard.
value stasis there.
He's trying to stealth away from the enemy guards, but he can't. He gets caught every single time. And down he goes again. Poor Summit, man. Put on karma twice in a row, and this happens twice. Got a feel for them. Although I'm sure the SKT fans are just basking in the glory right now.
The afterglow is so real.
Yeah. Baker's like, no, that's mine. Ghost, you thought you could kill me. He's still in the shroud here. It's like no perfect execution for just a moment as in comes Teddy.
Uh-oh, Aatrox.
Oh! Yeah, you're dead. And Joker here, no flash for the Aatrox, so he might actually win, or live, rather. As Joker is going to get the stopwatch out of Teddy. And we really are just playing with our food. They left the rest of them to kill the Baron while the other guys are just playing around trying to kill the enemy.
Another VAC.
Now we're getting a kill now as in goes Baker going 1v2. He finds a weak Gazelle on the top side of the map. The guy who's been running the entire game continues to run.
I wish we had the player cams on. Surely all 10 players are smiling at this point, right? Oh!
Oh, he lives. And, yeah. There you go. Now, is it VAC or is it back? I thought it was back.
I just called a VAC
I don't actually know
what does the
that
V
was.
stand for? That's a interesting point. It stands for Valve, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I thought it was Valdez.
Hey!
There you go.
VAC is almost Valdez chance.
It kind of is. Just extend the Valdez to VA. And then see.
Well,
there you go.
I'd love to extend the Valdez to 5 games, but I don't think we'll be extending the Valdez to 5 games today.
Not today. There will be opportunities in the future, for sure. But this is not that day. As Effort, he did die in the end, but it was a noble death. As he almost lived, actually. The LeBlanc had to get in there and put a Q down. Not a lot of other people did, though.
No, it wasn't that kind of day. Teddy decided to 1v2, because why not?
Ghost actually baited him. He's like, you want to go? You want to go? And then he called in his big buddy.
I believe Summit was envisioned, though, before he pressed R, and yet he was like, why not?
Yeah.
Watch this human form Q, though. I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Oh, no, it's a spider.
Oh, spider.
Yeah.
There you go. We learned something today.
Spider can actually, it follows a path that you declare for a while. And then it follows whatever's nearest.
Do you remember all the words to Itsy Bitsy Spider?
Yeah.
Is that a normal thing? Do young kids today know all the words to Itsy Bitsy Spider? I'm not sure if...
What did you say?
Itsy Bitsy Spider.
That's not what you said the second time, but I'm gonna leave it at that. As I don't know. There's they like that Baby Shark song nowadays. Baby Shark, do-do-do-do-do. In goes the Leona.
That's not a baby shark. That's a real shark.
That's the Grandpa Shark coming on in as well. That's a nice Feather Storm, buddy, but you're going to go down too. That's the full ace, and it looks like SKT have bought themselves a ticket to the next round of the playoffs.
Hard to disagree with that, Valdez. It was a demolition in Game 2. 30 kills in 25 minutes, and that's just from SKT.
That is unbelievable. SKT put the boot down, and they stomp SANDBOX into the dust. 3-0, and they say, Dom1, come at us, bros.
And people were talking about the challenger's evolution and the potential for Griffin, SANDBOX, and Dom1 to decide LCK Summer 2019 playoffs. Turns out the demolition by SKT keeps them as the only storied org next to Griffin and Dom1. They book a mouth-watering best-of-5 for Sunday. Your LCK Summer 2019 semifinal be a best-of-5 between SK Telecom T1 and the Young Mechanics crew and potentially rising stars of Dom1 Gaming.
It's going to be a mouth-watering series. You and I, Pop, are going to be watching from home. As good old Atlas and LS are going to be joining forces to bring you that amazing semifinals. As, wow, this was a statement out of SKT. They looked so prepared, not only for the draft, but especially guys like Clid were just playing at their supreme top level tonight, every single game. The consistency to play at that top level every single game is just incredible. We'll have to hope that he does keep it up into the future of the playoffs. Everybody on the side of SKT, even Khan, in this time, we both gave him our MVP vote, gets the solo kill, and just begins rolling face on the Aatrox. Guy came out with a vengeance tonight. Unfortunately, that does mean that SANDBOX are going to be the ones crushed by the 0-3. Was hoping for a bit of a better series, but not the way it was meant to be, as a lot of 3,000s out there for FLICKR and 3,000 kills. Suppose maybe he did pick that up from this series.
SK Telecom T1 in playoffs so far. In best of fives, they have played 3. The semi-final of Spring, the Spring final, and now this quarterfinal. They are 9-0. Have not dropped a game. They have dropped a game in playoffs because they did drop a game, of course, in our best of 3. Best of 5 SKT is a different beast, has been said since 2013, and 6 years later, it is still super true. SANDBOX tried something bold. They went on to blue, and we got the tea leaves out. We looked into the clouds. Was there something special? The sad truth was there was not, and they were not on the same level as SKT, and maybe not even in the same league when it comes to playoffs performance. First best of 5 is not going to be one to remember. For the side of SANDBOX, we just can look forward and say, what an exciting best of 5 we have in store for Sunday, and whatever the result, even if it's a repeat, even if Dam1 don't play to their level and drop down 3-0, it still makes our grand final oh so interesting.
Absolutely. As we're going to take a look at some highlights here from the game. There were quite a lot of kills, so I'm not sure exactly which highlights you are going to take out here, observers, but Khan certainly had a lot of them here. Gets the solo kill after I was ranting on and on about how this is basically impossible. Summit proves us wrong. Of course it was Flash against non-Flash. But either way, highlight after highlight, SKT just looks so damn good after this series.
Just flexing on them in this last game. The broken mental was where the fail Flash, I didn't even notice there. I know it was normal Flash, never mind. Was caught in all of the shiny lights on Fleek. Dove said, I can hit the chain, and OnFlake didn't mention he didn't have kick. And just another moment where SANDBOX will wonder what if. I don't think 1, 2, 3 of those moments changes the series result. Well, that's something that's easier to tell them in the future days than it might be after this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were already feeling the tingling coming on in at the beginning of game number 2. We were already saying, wow, this could just be a 3-0. And this wasn't even a close game or anything like that, as just another solo kill perhaps here in the mid lane.
My favorite
Fleet got baited again.
My favorite era of watching SKT was watching on as a fan in 2013, when of course they made that huge run from debuting in Spring Champions 2013 to winning Worlds. And my favorite reason for watching them then was how they played best of 5s. Longtime viewers will remember they would leave open all of the enemy team's best champions, try to beat those champions in game 1, and know if we beat them with their best champions, their mental will be entirely broken, and from there it will be an easy transition. That wasn't quite the same case in terms of how the pick and ban went, and yet this series was game 1, and then 2 and 3 were an afterthought. The real competition really occurred in game number 1. And SKT picking up the victory there had very clear inroads onto a SANDBOX rookie roster in best of 5s.
Yeah, and it's the second time, unfortunately, now that SANDBOX has fallen in the first step of playoffs. In Spring, it was in the wild card in the best of 3 against Dam1. I don't remember if that was a 2-0 or a 2-1.
I want to say 2-1.
I think it was a 2-1 as well, but now they go down 0-3, and I just thought that having a older, experienced voice doing the comms with Joker and, you know, some pretty good mechanics on their team. You know, maybe it's not Dam1 level, but they got some young players that are quite good. You know, Summit really showed his stuff here in 2019. Dove has always been consistent on Fleek. I feel like has gotten better and better up until this series. And they were just really not able to put together anything for this series.
Not at all. I feel like their preparation with the extra time they had should have been a lot clearer. SANDBOX had this weird spot where you would always look past them when ranking teams, and yet, if you looked past them, they could beat anyone. But when you gazed at them and tried to really fully understand them, they would often, you know, whittle away and not be able to get up to the level we know that is possible from them. And I think it's pretty damning when the team was being described. There was the interview with SKT in the press conference after their win 2 days ago, where the interviewer, the reporter asked, you know, SANDBOX are a macro team, how are you going to prepare for them? And FLICKR, I believe, quite confidently said, we'll just play macro better than they can.
Yeah.
And a macro team is always a bit of a cop-out when explaining a team. SANDBOX are usually smart, sometimes they make mistakes, and they don't really have too many other clear things in their corner apart from how maneuverable they are in pick and ban between Dove and Summit. That was more relevant in spring when we still had the Worlds meta from 2018 going on with Akali and Urgot and Lissandra. In summer, they're still a good team, but I don't think they can go out with performance like this and be remembered as a great team. Is it unfair to say that? Should they have been shooting to be a great team when auto-relegation seemed so likely in the start of spring? It's still an amazing year that's still not done. They will play in the second best of 5 of playoffs, but we start to see the ceiling of SANDBOX gaming today.
They have a chance, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm going to hand it to Ji-sun for the translation of this interview.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Season with Universal Translation, and we'll be hearing from the whole SKT squad. So, Captain FLICKR, how do you feel about the win? Well, yeah, we're up here, so we're just going to do our best in terms of preparing for the Diamond Gaming series. It was a very dominant game. Did you have any good feelings or good dream coming into today's venue? Well, I thought that our performance would be actually bad, but our performance was even better than I expected. So I'm not thinking of like special dreams before the day before the match. We'll just, I mean, like I don't really remember anything. I guess you had a very good night's sleep. So Khan, you only had a day to prepare, but the draft competition was really fierce. So, did the coaching staff do a lot of work for this? Even though we had 1 day to prepare, our coaching staff, they were staying up all night, coming up for a better draft, they're watching the foreign leagues, so they teach us a lot. So yeah, I think they did a great work on this. And Clid, game number 1, you got another MVP on Silas. So we have this highlight clip, so let's take a look at it. So what kind of communication went in this fight? So we knew Draven didn't have flash, but he was kind of pushing too much. So I also had Talia ultimate that I stole from Dove, so we had the perfect angle to fight, so we were able to get a lot of profit there. And Teddy, SK Telecom actually chose red side for game number 2. Is there any reason for preferring red side over blue side? Because we can go for the later picks in 3rd and 5th pick, and we just like feel more confidence in red side. And effort. You are stronger, as you promised in the previous interview. Especially game number 2, your synergy with Teddy was on point. So what was the focal point in coming today's preparation? There were some positioning issues, so that was the focal point in our feedback. I think we are a bit stronger than last time, so it feels really nice. I can indeed say you got a lot stronger. And let's talk about game number 2. You got an MVP on Kasarin on mid lane. Very unorthodox pick. Was that your own idea? Well, I have a broad champion pool, so I can just go with the champions in each situation. But I do kind of being a little bit vocal in terms of pick and bans. So, game 2, you were controlling all over their lanes. So let's see the level 16 Kasadin, how powerful it is. So you were going in for a flank. Well, when you hit level 16 and Kasadin, you really want to just go in for fights. I had a very good position over there. So I just made calls for my teammates to let's go open fights. And then, game 3, Summit. Well, you kind of finished Summit over there. And when you guys had one match or one set to finish up, was there any special advice from the coaching staff? Well, nothing special, because we were doing a quite good job in game number 1 and 2. They just told us to like get rid of some of their mistakes and do a great job. And Khan, you got the MVP on Aatrox for game number 3, and you also played Aatrox versus Karma in game number 2 and 3. So you were kind of outscaling him in laning phase. Well, all the top laners, well, they actually don't really want to play Aatrox up against Karma, but getting hit by Karma all day long, it's really stressing. But we had a really good comp with Aatrox, because we can go in together with Aatrox in the front line. So I'm really happy that we were able to pull that off, thanks to all my teammates. In game number 3, as soon as SANDBOX went for Xayah Rakan, before to locked in Leona. Before the pick and ban, we had Xayah Rakan coming from SANDBOX in our minds. So, but we were completely ready, so it was okay. So this was your first Leona game. Are you satisfied with your performance today? No, my skill shot was quite bad. It was not perfect, but the pick itself was okay. So you'll be stronger in the second round? I will do my best. So there were a lot of kills in game number 3, but it was very dominant on the SK Telecom side. So what kind of talk did you guys have after game number 3? Nothing really special, but well, the 3-0 victory really reflects how improved we are in terms of performance. So I just hope that we can all do even better in our upcoming series. Any message for your teammates right here? Nothing special. Let's do well in our next match. Your next match will be against Tamon Gaming, and the Miracle Run is still on. Khan, how are we gonna prepare for that? I have nothing special to say. I'll just do my best to prepare for it. So we are on a great momentum with this 3-0 victory, so we're just going to do our best in terms of preparation, and we will do our best in the Tamon Gaming match. And moving on to Teddy, actually. Well, our performance looks quite decent, so we will do our best in our remaining series. An effort? We have been showing new picks during the postseason, so we will do our best to show more of the pocket picks in our upcoming match. And FLICKR, any message for the fans? Our goal is making it to the finals and getting the trophy of LCK, so I hope we can take down Tamon next time in the playoff round 2. So this will be the end of the interview with SKT players, and I'm going to pass it back to our casters. Thank you.
Thank you, Ji-sun, for another wonderful translation. Good to hear from all the guys there on SKT, as After that one, everybody left a little bit speechless. Even the guys on SKT are like, well, we crushed them, so
Nothing special.
let's do really well next time as well. Nothing special. We're SANDBOX. We'll see what Damwon can do to step up to the rolling force of momentum that is SKT right now.
They should, on paper, represent a much tougher opposition that can potentially blue side win against SKT because of the power of their solo laners. And yet, who's to say SKT won't turn up the style once more? Should be an awesome best of 5 for Atlas and LS on Sunday. You and I will definitely be eyes peeled wide on Twitch chat, enjoying that one. The Grand Finals comes a week later, so the action doesn't end here. In case you want to watch some League of Legends, LPL Invictus Gaming potentially could be eliminated from playoffs today. They're in action right now over on twitch.tv/LPL, and the LEC playoffs starts later.
Yeah, lots of League to come your way. Unfortunately, not as much from our end. Under 3 hours on this broadcast because it only went 3 games as SKT crushed them. Not much else to say. Just hope you guys tune in for the next time here for more LCK action in a couple of days.
You take me higher when I feel low. Make my world brighter when I'm alone. I keep on rolling, all with your fuel. You're like my gasoline that makes my dream come true. 'Cause this is the beginning. Together we'll be winning. Make my soul sing. 'Cause with you I'm feeling from alive. Light like a feather, white like the wind. High fly together to where we never been. You taught me loving without all the pain. You're all I need. I'm feeling from alive.
라스리안 온.
You're my desire, my cookie dough, my burning fire, my secret code. I keep on rolling, all with your fuel. That makes my dream come true. 'Cause this is the beginning. Together we'll be winning. With you I'm the same. Make my soul sing. 'Cause with you I'm feeling felt alive. Light like a feather, white like the wind. High fly together to where we never been. You taught me loving without all the blame. You're all I need. I'm feeling felt alive. I'm feeling felt alive.
혼란, 카오스, 역대급 혼전이라고 읽을 수 있을 만한 상황. 역대급 아고를 찍다.